OTB AM.
With Gillette. Get into your flow with the new Gillette Labs razor with exfoliating bar.
All right, it's Monday morning. It's 7:30. You're very welcome along to OTB AM. It's Gilroy and Johnny Ward with you this Monday morning. Johnny, how are you?
Morning, Jerp.
So just a little bit of insight into how things go along here. You know that there's obviously the continuing tension. Owen and myself are colleagues as opposed to acquaintances rather than friends. Johnny, I thought was a friend, right? Until about 3.5 minutes ago. The coffee machine isn't working today on the floor that we do business. And so I diligently ran up just before we were due to come on air and I'm pouring myself a coffee and I ring him and I say, hey, Johnny, the coffee machine is broken and I know you can't function without a coffee, Johnny. So what would you like? And he goes, oh, no, I'm grand. I've already been up to the 5th floor and got one for myself.
I was on the phone though. I can't be on the phone and carry 2 coffees. So
You've got earphones.
You then completely ignored that I offered you toast in the meantime.
It's too late.
Yeah.
The coffee is the only thing that matters. You want to bloat me on toast before I go and perform, so that my performance is going to be weakened.
So, somebody did put up a tweet recently. How does anyone get up in the morning and not think of coffee first thing? And I am like that, Ger. Yeah, I don't think it's the one thing
thanks.
I couldn't.
Yeah, I'm the same. Thanks.
How are you getting on anyway?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm delighted you're here.
Enjoying my coffee. I'm staying. Finishing my coffee. Get that reference?
No, I don't.
Some people will.
Okay, well...
Called Coen Brothers movie.
Which one?
The Big Lebowski.
Whereabouts?
Walter's in the cafe and he's on about how he can get a tow for the dude quite easily.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then the dude just goes out in a huff and Walter has enraged the old lady working behind the shelf and he says, I'm saying, finishing my coffee, enjoying my coffee. It's an iconic, it's probably one of my favourite scene, The Big Lebowski.
It's 7:32 this morning. Things have already been blown off course somewhat.
I'm saying.
Not as off course as the Oscars overnight. You almost caught a clip of it there as the music started. Have you seen this?
I just saw it there. Can we play this in a sporting context? Or?
Well, so yeah, I mean, the whole world is trying to find a way to talk about the Oscars this morning because the movie that Will Smith won the Oscar for, so Will Smith wins the Best Actor Oscar last night for his portrayal of Richard Williams, the father of Venus and Serena, for the new movie that's out. And so... it's supposed to be the crowning moment of Will Smith's career. But 10 minutes before they announced that he was winning the Oscar, in the ad break, in the bit before the ad break, before they gave out the Best Actor Oscar, he smacked Chris Rock in the face on the stage while Chris Rock was making jokes about his missus. Did you see this?
Did I? Sorry, I thought you were going to play the clip. I did. I just saw it there. Yeah, it was amazing. It's already had 30 million views, I think, on...
it's going to do... I predict now it will be the most watched clip in the history of the internet.
It was a bit mad. Will Smith was not happy.
So it's the live show and Chris Rock is making a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith and how he's looking forward to her starring in G.I. Jane 2. I mean, it's a very opaque reference. I'm trying to rack my brains to remember. 1997, Demi Moore, or as they say in America, Demi. I can't pronounce names properly, but that's okay. She shaved her head at the height of her Hollywood celebrity.
I remember that.
To star as G.I. Jane, right? Jada Pinkett Smith has alopecia, and so therefore has a hair loss problem. And so the joke is, haha, she has alopecia. Haha, she could be in a movie starring a bald person or a person with shaved head. Ha 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 ha. That's Chris Rock's joke, right?
It's not a good joke.
It's not a great joke. And Will Smith is in the front row sitting beside his wife, and then Will Smith does not like this joke. And so there's a brief pause. It's kind of like Chris Rock is wallowing in the kind of silence in the aftermath of the joke, because it doesn't seem like everybody else was like, yeah, that's a good one, Chris, good man. This is your A-list material here. This is the stuff that has made you a gazillionaire. And then Will Smith storms the stage and just open hand smacks him in the face. He's a much bigger guy. Will Smith is a big guy. Smacks him in the face.
Oh, I missed that part. I just saw where he went back and sat down and started shouting at him, but he actually goes up. Oh, I'm sorry. Just to provide some context here, I started eating my toast at about 28 and a half minutes past.
Toast is ruining the show.
And then you told me, you better watch the clip, which is 45 seconds long. He literally decks him.
Well, so he doesn't fall. In fairness, he can take a punch. Chris Rock can definitely take a punch. And then Chris Rock is completely, as you would expect, he takes it, steps back up and goes, wow, 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 wow. I just got absolutely the shit kicked out of me by Will Smith. there's a lot of what's going on here? And then take my wife's name out of your effing mouth. Take my wife's name out of your effing mouth. Will Smith shouts from back down. He's sitting in the front row of the Oscars again, and yeah, it's been pretty interesting. It's been it's like
We've had moments like that without the punches, haven't we?
Yeah, when you wouldn't get me coffee.
I think what you did there was I offered you toast and you said no, and then you were on the way to get the coffee and you thought, God, I better just offer him a coffee now, because
I
did offer me toast, and even though I wasn't thinking of offering
add a little
coffee.
wrinkle to this. I did my Achilles tendon over the weekend, and I'm hopping around like I'm shuffling around like Hopalong Cassidy, and I thought maybe could I ask Johnny to get me a coffee? Do you think would that be bad form? Would it be bad form to ask somebody, because the coffee machine's broken? Maybe he'd go to the 5th floor first. No, do you know what? I'll do it. I need to stretch it out, otherwise but sure, look. That
coffee machine hasn't been working since Friday, if I'm right.
I don't know.
Making my trip up to the 5th floor. What happened to your Achilles?
I don't know. It's I've been wearing runners instead of boots for the last few days because the good weather came in. And as you get older, Johnny, your body starts to break down. It's all ahead of you.
It's already... I think I'm already there, to be honest. Yeah, everything is just slower now.
So tell us who is everywhere. Are they Team Chris Rock or are they Team Will Smith? Because you're not supposed to resort to violence, but like
it's not really violence, though.
And then literally the next thing that happened was he won the Oscar, and he's crying in the Oscar speech about what happened to in that. So it's you're gonna be hearing a lot about this. That's my hot take this morning, is you're going to hear a lot about this massive major incident that happened at the Oscars last night.
On OTB AM.
7:37, here's what's coming up. It's Will Smith for the next 2.5 hours. No, it's actually not. We're going to talk about the performance rankings in just a second, the Gillette Labs performance rankings. Matt Holland's going to join us at 8:10 after the Republic of Ireland's 2-2 draw against Belgium. We have the sports pages at 8:30, Anthony Moyles at 8:45, Alan Quinlan will come back at the weekend's rugby at 9:10, and more OTB reaction coming your way at 9:30. OTB AM is brought to you live each morning by Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. Time for the Gillette Labs performance rankings.
That wasn't an All-Ireland winning performance.
Probably should have won the game based on their second half performance.
Is it a step too far to say it was the performance so far of the World Cup? Maybe not.
OTB AM's performance rankings with Gillette.
I'm scratching my head. That performance was just lacked that intensity.
Ooh, all right, we're going green for the morning, and also because Tommy Rooney's here. Tommy, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning, Johnny. Good morning, Ger. How are you both doing?
Well, that'd be better if I'd had the morning double espresso, but apart from that, all's good. How are you?
Oh, I can imagine. I'm good. I'm very sorry to hear about your Achilles. That is nasty.
Yeah, I didn't realise it becomes sore to the touch.
That's so annoying.
Yeah. Anyway, sure, look.
Yeah.
There are real athletes to talk about this morning, and how this works is every week we ask you on Instagram the night before to see if you have any views about who should be in the red, who should be in the amber, who should be in the green. Red's had a bad weekend, amber's had a work. We can't quite decide yet. The jury is out, and green is, it's all systems go. And if you went to the competition, you could be in for a Gillette Labs starter pack. In the meantime, what have we got this week? Who is in the red?
I think Johnny's going to bring us through these. Are you, Johnny?
The red is the Dubs, yeah. So the Dubs, I didn't have time this morning, A, to get Ger coffee, B, to finish my toast, and C, to find out what odds Dublin would have been to lose 5 games to get relegated. And, the circumstances in Clonus were amazing because they rallied back with obviously a Dean Rock penalty, and Jack McCarron, who had an unbelievable game, wins it at the end. And I don't know, Tommy, are Dublin were 3-1 to win the All-Ireland about 2 weeks ago, and that roughly means that bookmakers think they've a give or take about a 20% chance to win the All-Ireland, which is an incredible state of affairs from where we've been at in the hegemony of the last few years. But do you think yesterday was a kind of a step back in terms of the apparent progress they were making in the league, where they were like, okay, they're getting ready for the champion? Because defensively, they just look really open.
Before he answers that, they're still 3-1. That's the thing.
They're still 3-1, yeah.
So they're in the red. I think that I've been alone. I don't think there's that much wrong with Dublin at the moment. I think that they are in a period of transition. This is a league campaign. These players some of the players who aren't playing great at the moment have 6-7 All-Ireland medals. Like, does this really matter that much, Tommy?
I think 3-1 isn't that far off where they should be, but I do actually think yesterday will have an impact here. I think yesterday adds to the scrutiny. I think it adds to the pressure that they're under. I think that if the Dubs had pulled off kind of sort of what Willie McMahon predicted in his Indo column but got utterly wrong at the weekend, I think it would have done them the world of good. I think if Dublin had come back from 6 or 7 points down, pull a draw out of the bag or a win out of the bag and stayed up, that would have been massive. And they would have been able to point at it, and all the ex-pros, the Paddy Andrews and the Willie McMahons of the world would have been able to say, look, they're building, they're getting there, get off their backs, it's a completely new team. But I think this only adds to the pressure that they're under. I do actually think that once they get their ship in order, because it's such an open year in the championship this year, the Dubs at 3-1 it isn't that bad a shout. Like, we know, like, Leinster football is at its lowest ebb. Sure, Kildare had a great buzz about them, and Kildare football was motoring really well, but that's a big blow for Kildare to go down yesterday as well. No Leinster football teams in Division 1. Realistically, we could have Leinster football in the red here today, lads. Louder promoted. They're the only team really on the rise at the minute. Meath stagnated. Offaly went down. Laois are in Division 4. With Wexford and Wicklow and Carlow. Like,
it's going to be very difficult for Dublin. It's going to be very difficult for Dublin to get safe passage through to the All-Ireland quarter-final. What are they going to do?
Guaranteed.
What are they going to do for the next month and a half?
Exactly.
And a month after that. Like,
it could be worth listening to Desi Farrell, Jerry. We've got 2 short clips here of him talking to Stephen Doyle after the game of Clonus yesterday. So let's have a listen to the first clip here with Desi Farrell.
Not the most concerning thing. I think our disappointment is mostly based around an inconsistent performance again. You know, I put two decent performances back to back now. There's still work to do for sure. But you would have thought we were on a decent enough trajectory at that point, and then the second half was better. We were flat in the first half, and that's more disappointing, I think, in terms of quality of performance. Was obviously we're looking towards the summer at this point in time, you know. So
I think what's interesting as well, Tommy, is if you looked at like XG or whatever and put it into the football, dissect the individual games Dublin have played, there have been a lot of moments where things have just gone against them, like kind of fluky goals being disallowed. Again, yesterday it looks like Monaghan they've been relegated 3 times in injury time of their last game. I think Dick Clerkin said yesterday, and they pull out the fire. But like, the margins were so fine, like, and if Dublin did win yesterday or even drew or whatever, I think it would change the narrative. And just the fact that you're talking about a Jack McCarron point at the end has been, I'm just kind of, I'm in 2 minds about this, because I think Dublin, at one level, they're under an awful lot of scrutiny. At the other level, like, they're 3-1 to win the All-Ireland when they've been odds on for the last like 7 or 8 years, I'd say. So they're not even favourites anymore. So I think that in the fact that the camp has been doubted now might actually add to, might help them in some respects. So they can go back now, chill out. People think that people are saying that they're gone at the game, they're a bit finished, and maybe they'll just come back and just like rattle through people in the All-Ireland. The one thing that struck me last night just watching League Sunday was, you know, the inter-county game has been maligned a lot. It was so compelling. I mean, from First Division, Second Division, particularly the First Division, the games, so much quality as well. I thought the quality of the goals in Tyrone and Kerry, from the kick passing to the 2 outside of the foot passes for the 2 goals, was just sensationally good. And, you know, for a game that, like, a lot of people have been, like, even articles recently given out about the way Kerry were playing. Joe Brawley had an article. I think the championship's in a great nick, because you look at, there's a team from every province now who has a proper chance to win the All-Ireland. But like, Galway will fancy their chance against Mayo. 3 or 4 teams in Ulster will think they can win Ulster. And Leinster is more open, if it is open, it's more open than it's been in a while. So I think there's a lot to be positive about.
Yeah, I think we're going to come back to that a little bit later on with the GA coverage in the green. There's a second Desi clip you said, Tommy.
Yeah. Now this is very important, Jer, because we spoke about the importance of getting James McCarthy back, and it utterly changed what Dublin looked like in Croke Park against Donegal. And just a note, Brian Howard and Niall Scully look so at home once more for the Dubs in Croke Park against Donegal 2 weeks ago. I think that's a point well worth making as well when Johnny talks about them still being 3-1 for the All-Ireland. From here on in, the Dubs are going to play in Croke Park for the most part. And that is going to make a massive difference to them. If they don't get any more injuries, and if they get Con O'Callaghan back, let's hear what Desi had to say about where Con is at.
In terms of where he'll be at?
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to having Con back very soon. Yeah.
As inside the next 2 weeks, will he be? Would you be confident he'll be available come to start the championship?
Yeah, he will. He will be available for sure. Yeah.
Right.
Now, yeah, so James O'Donoghue now questioned this a couple of weeks ago. Paddy was talking about, Con and James are going to be back and they're going to make a massive difference. And there's no doubt in that they were. But James is like, you need to have 2 or 3 league games under your belt and a couple of provincial games under your belt to be able to get up to the 90%, 100%.
Do you?
Now, there's no doubt.
It is Leinster, though.
70% Con O'Callaghan absolutely makes a difference. 80% Con O'Callaghan makes a difference to Dublin. But if Dublin are going to win the All-Ireland this year, they need Con O'Callaghan operating somewhere close to 90 to 100%.
He needs football of the year territory, right? That's what they need. Somebody to emerge who would be a realistic contender at this stage for football of the year. And they don't have anybody who's playing in that form at the moment.
No, they don't. Like maybe Costello explodes into that. He did have a very good game yesterday. Maybe Kieran Kilkenny stands up again. It's going to be so interesting to watch. I just think it adds, Dubs getting relegated adds another layer of intrigue. Johnny mentioned him at the top of the show. Like Jack McCarron's performance was off the charts.
The goal was honestly, I'm not sure I've seen a better individual goal in Gaelic football in terms of the finish.
I don't know if it's that high up, Johnny, but it's definitely amazing and it's definitely something worth celebrating. What I can't get my head around is whenever, maybe I lose the run of myself a little bit with GA goals a bit too often. Johnny, I'm sure you do the same with the League of Ireland, but there's always somebody questioning. Oh, he took too many steps. Oh, the keeper's off his line.
Did he foul Fitzsimons?
What's wrong with these people? I don't understand. No, he did not. It is
but if he didn't, then why is Fitzsimons
He did. If that happened to you, if he'd done that, if that was a dub doing that to me, you'd be like, that's ridiculous.
No, absolutely not. Jack McCarron's behind Michael Fitzsimons. He reaches across him. He gets a paw on the ball. It goes by him. Sure, Fitzsimons has felt contact. But this is inter-county football. It's a contact sport. It actually is a very, very un-Dublin-like trait for Mick Fitzsimons to hit the ground and on his knees, instead of chasing Jack McCarron,
look for a foul.
Looks at the ref with his hands.
If you're a defender and you do that, if you're a defender and you do that, I've seen that in a couple of League of Ireland games this year. If you're a defender and it looks kind of 50-50 at best, and you gesture to the referee as you're kind of running back, it just doesn't look. It's not a good look.
No, and you're gone. The Dubs have set the standards and made them so high in Gaelic games for the last 7 or 8 years. They're gone. This is a different Dublin team now. And they have to learn. The likes of Brian Fenton, Brian Howard, Niall Scully, who I mentioned earlier on, they'd never lost a game in Championship up to last year before. Their intercounty careers had been unbelievable. They've been so successful. It had been a freak, really. And they have to learn now about how to deal with perhaps teammates who aren't operating at the level that the 6-in-a-row Dubs were. Teammates that are probably learning their trade a little bit as the games are going on, that are making mistakes. And now you're even seeing the lads with their 8 or 9 All-Ireland medals, the Mick Fitzsimons of the world, doing things that are totally uncharacteristic.
I love the finish. I just thought the technique at that, and you could the way he hit it, it was like, this is 100% going in. He's so full of confidence here. And
Johnny, I was very lucky to go to college. I was a year behind Jack McCarron in college, so I got to watch him training and in college games. I live close to Monaghan, so I actually went to watch Curran, his club or intermediate club, playing a league game against Donaghmoyne, a random game one day, just to go and see him playing. He was destroyed with cruciate injuries in his early 20s. This is a fella that if we had seen him, if he was in another county, or if we had seen more of him when he was younger coming through, everyone would be talking about Jack McCarron for the last 5 or 6, 7 years. An unbelievable footballer, and Monaghan have been crying out for the likes of himself and Conor McCarthy to stand up alongside Conor McManus over the last little while. Jared, just a note about Monaghan. They were in Division 3 in 2013. They won Division 3 in 2013. They won Division 2 in 2014. They had their Ulster titles in 2013 and 15. They've been in Division 1 since 2015. It's an incredible run for a county like that.
What's their ambition this year, Tommy?
Man, to be honest, Johnny, you're saying the Dubs are 3-1. Kerry are the out-and-out favourites, but this Kerry team have not done it yet.
Defensively?
There's going to be huge pressure on Kerry. So genuinely, this All-Ireland, it's like being back in 2010 when Cork and Down were in the All-Ireland final. It's back to that stage in Gaelic games. It's open for 7 or 8 teams to actually go and do it this year. I genuinely believe that.
Monaghan 40-1.
Yeah.
Oh no, totally. I think so. I think the clerk can say no, Monaghan will never win an All Ireland, but it's days like this to keep us going. I'm like, what? I mean, what? Look how close they are to Tyrone. Why did Tyrone think you can win an All Ireland? Because Tyrone have won an All Ireland. But before that original great team came along, Tyrone got as close. They got a little bit closer. In fairness, there was a little bit more of reaching All Ireland finals and blowing big leads against Kerry in the 80s. But there's no reason why any team who is a Division 1 team this year isn't thinking, win 4 games, win 4 successive games, and then all of a sudden everything is up for grabs.
No, absolutely. I have a feeling that I've allowed our performance rankings to go way over time here, have I?
Well, we've got some more stuff to get into. So next,
we'll be brief on this one.
Next in the red is OTB YouTubers. What's this, Johnny?
I was genuinely delighted with the Willie Mullins interview because, like, when I step in to Ger's shoes, it's an impossible task, shall we say. So I'm here on Friday interviewing Willie Mullins. I don't know when I'd last. I don't know if he's never been on the show before, and
never for a feature interview, no.
No, not for a feature interview, and he was I thought he was in great form, and I was like delighted with the interview. And then it was just like there were 2 or 3 comments at max on YouTube afterwards, and one of them was like basically saying, the one day Ger is away, 1 week Ger isn't there, and it's Willie Mullins. Had the potential to be an insightful and interesting interview, asking Willie about his son's love life, missing an inverted comma, I presume, and he only has one son, life, absolute cringe. And then I was like, well, it was just a throwaway comment at the end of the show. And some people don't really care. They're more interested in, I mean, Nina Carberry last night, she wins the Dancing with the Stars. People they like that stuff. They like seeing stuff that isn't at the racetrack. Just made a comment, I think some people in racing will know what I was on about. Willie responded in a good manner, and it just made me put me down.
Absolute cringe. The only way. Go on, Tommy.
No, I just want to say, like, Johnny, with all the bad, there's always a good as well. Is Niall Sheehan a buddy of yours? Is he in one of your WhatsApp groups?
Don't think so.
Good interview by Johnny. That's what I'd have to say on YouTube. So with all
good, solid 6 out of 10. That's you can't do. Yeah.
It was one of them interviews, though, Ger, that it was like this could be 4 hours, and I think Willie would still be bringing up a lot of the stuff from the past and all that was great. Like, but ultimately it was about his son's love life.
Well, that's all people are going to take away from it. Fair enough. So
love that stuff, by the way, because Holly Doyle and Tom Marquand got married. 2 leading jockeys in Britain got married the weekend. People love that. They love that salacious stuff. If the Daily Mail did stuff and the love lives of jockeys and everyone in racing would be all over it. I don't give a toss about it, but people do, and that was the context behind me.
All right, and you can leave a comment in the YouTube stream this morning if you want to rate Johnny
Absolute
out of 10.
Cringe.
That would be great. Absolute cringe. Hashtag. We can get that trending. People will think it's about Will Smith, but actually it's about you. Right, the women's rugby team, right? They are in amber because not quite sure what to make about this. There's still a bit of a honeymoon period around Greg McWilliams, the new head coach, who obviously is a new broom, hopefully sweeping clean everything that happened in the under the previous regime, where of course we failed to qualify for the World Cup. There was a record crowd, and yet the performance fell short. Up with about 10 minutes left on the clock, and then concede 2 late tries, and Wales end up winning the game. Bear in mind, Wales have qualified for the World Cup, and so they're going one direction, and we seem to be going the other direction. But we did hammer the Welsh last year, so that's why they're in orange. It's like green shoots of encouragement, but you lose a home game in the Six Nations. You definitely can't be in the green. There's probably a shout for them to be in the red, but it is still a little bit of a honeymoon period, and it looked like the rugby journalists who were covering the game are saying they're seeing signs of improvement. Yeah,
like, Ger, with this one, it's a funny one, because I was asking as well, like, were Wales favourites going into this? And seemingly they marginally were, but they had lost 6 straight Six Nations games in a row. But I think the main context here is that where Irish women's rugby is possibly coming from and the fallout that we had pre-Christmas, Welsh rugby are after handing out 12 professional contracts in the last couple of months. So they're clearly on a high. As you said, they're going to the World Cup. This game all turned, because it was all going so well. This game all turned in that spell where Emer Constantine got that with Sinbind, and those 2 late tries came. So it feels like a real sucker punch to get at the start of the Six Nations, because by all accounts the crowd was incredible, and the buzz around the team was starting to get going around here. So hopefully they can keep it going throughout the Six Nations and sustain that.
I think that crowd is definitely a positive as well, because we've seen the buzz that has taken on with the Irish national team in football, and I'm sure some of the rugby players feel like, well, we're kind of being left behind here, because it hasn't seemed to capture that interest so much. And there were over 6,000 in Donnybrook, which is I know it was a beautiful weekend, but by all accounts really good buzz at the game as well. And I think as a player that'll give them massive encouragement going forward as well, that this is something that we can really build on, because I mean the problems in women's rugby have been well documented at this stage, but it hasn't in the last few years, it hasn't nearly kind of reached its potential.
OTB AM is brought to you live each morning by Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. Every week we're giving away a Gillette Labs shaving kit to be with a chance of winning. Let us know who you think should make the Gillette Labs performance rankings. Best place to enter is the Off The Ball Instagram page. You'll see the comments box in our story there. Or you can also get in touch with us however you want this morning at Off The Ball AM on Twitter. GA coverage in green, Tommy. This is your baby. You were out and about. You were watching it on the TG Car app and you thought that this was a vision for what life could actually be like every weekend for us. If only we had the right championship structures.
Oh my God, just imagine. And the thing is, that's the best weekend of the GAN calendar, apart from probably the All-Ireland final. I'll have to give it that, or maybe the All-Ireland semi-finals. It's over already, and it's March. First of all, TG Car, Nematon DV, incredible stuff. The red zone yesterday that we got for the Gaelic football was sensational for Division 1. I was away last weekend, so I hadn't seen. Apparently, they did it with the hurling. All I could see was people giving out about it. I was like, how could anyone be giving out that you're being kept up to date with around 3 or 4 different grounds during the GA? Just a little bit of innovation. Sure, maybe they didn't nail it, but how could they be giving out? Seemingly, people are saying that the hurling was too fast and they couldn't possibly give enough context every time they moved to another ground. If that was the case last week, I don't know. This week, it was absolutely incredible. There was one spell in the first half where Monaghan goal, crossover to Donegal Armagh, goal, crossover. We get word from Tyrone Kerry that there's a goal down there. And then there was a goal as well in Mayo and Kildare. Like, it was just class. You had the table changing the whole way through. There was jeopardy on the line throughout. Every game went down to the wire. They didn't have cameras at Kerry Tyrone, so we hear that David Clifford has scored an absolute worldie, but we don't know what it is. So there's a bit of frustrations around that. So it was just absolutely class year. Like, as well as that, the app was brilliant. I was on the move yesterday. It was a beautiful day. I didn't want to stay stuck in on a Sunday in the sitting room, with the games on. I could have done that, but I was able to do it on my phone, watching them in the car as we were on the move yesterday, and stay on top of all the games. I may not have been great company, but got to stay on top of all the football. It was brilliant, and it just gave a glimpse of what we could have, because while all of that was great, in Division 2, you had teams getting relegated and going up and down. That kind of got drowned out. Like, Cork and Offaly was an incredible game. 47 scores in that game.
Niall McNamee, 36.
Unbelievable, Johnny. But that game kind of got drowned out because of the drama in Division 1. In Division 3, all 8 teams had something to play for. So, imagine that they had spread it out, that they went Division 1, Division 2 on the Sunday, Division 3 and 4 on the Saturday. The biggest farce of the weekend was that Leitrim and Sligo on the Sunday was allowed to become a dead rubber. That game should have been a promotion shootout in a sold-out Markovich Park. One of the biggest events of those players, probably next 2 or 3 years in Gaelic football, and it was ended up being a dead rubber. And actually, the worst part of it is that within that being a dead rubber, 2 of the key players both got sent off for either side, so they might end up missing their first round championship game. So what a waste in some regards, Jared. But I kind of thought the GA coverage should be in orange. It just gave us a glimpse of what we could have. Imagine we had this as our championship.
Look.
I think another point just to be made is what TG Carr does in terms of what you can do with limited resources, as opposed to what you can do with almost limitless resources. And the contrast in that, I think it's just it's a national treasure of a channel. I really do, and they're constantly kicking it.
We should compare and contrast what RTE does. We should stop pussyfooting around this. What TG Carr does versus what RTE does is chalk and cheese, because TG Carr is far more innovative and far more creative.
It has to be.
Well, it has to be, but it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. You could, RTE could be innovative and creative in their approach to things, but for whatever reason, whatever the blockage is that prevents them from doing what TG Carr does, they are light years behind, and they shouldn't be, and they should be held to account for that, because they're the ones getting the massive, the bulk of our of the taxpayers' funding through the licence fee.
Yeah, it's doing another disservice to the game that's there and the potential it has to grow, because this summer there really isn't that much else on to compete with it. Sure, there's a rugby tour of New Zealand. There's no World Cup until the Christmas. Next year there's no summer big soccer tournament. Like the GEA, hurling and football should be taking centre stage. And in a lot of ways, they'll just about get by because people are mad about it. So they will watch and listen to whatever they can. But the Tailteann Cup, if it's treated the way Division 4 was treated at the weekend, if that open goal is missed, I don't understand how they plan to to get coverage for it, or how they plan to put it centre stage, or give it the justice it deserves for it to flourish and for it to become a viable competition.
I have to say, Tommy, that I get a great kick out of watching inter-county stuff at a lower level, and like seeing what you see some of the photos of the Offaly players after the game yesterday. Niall McNamee at 36, the performances he was given, and in a game, and the narrative behind Cork, where they were potentially getting relegated, and what that game meant. A really, really entertaining game. Fair enough, neither of them is going to win in All-Ireland this year, and in terms of Tailteann Cup and going forward, like that, a second-tier competition, it will grow into something that means something, because, like, as you say, like Leitrim and Sligo, that could have been a game that meant a lot, and it's not all about Dublin and Mayo or Kerry and Tyrone. Like, if you get two teams that have something to play for at a lower level, it can be very, very compelling, and I just hope the Tailteann Cup isn't seen as this disparaging thing.
Yeah.
No, one thing, like we see David Clifford at the end of games now, and kids running over to him. Like, I was in Tralee last day, before the referee's blowing the full-time whistle, there's a horde of kids under the age of about 12 or 13 sprinting onto the pitch before the whistle is gone. I actually think there was another 30 seconds to play in that game, and he was just like, there's no point. Clifford was already swarmed by kids. And you're seeing even the Dubs yesterday after they got relegated, they're still on the pitch signing autographs and clonus. I got word that even in Leitrim this year, for the first time in a long time, kids are hanging back to ask their players, because there's a buzz around football in the county. Will they sign autographs? Will they take photos? There are stars in the game that are playing at lower levels, lower divisions. They just need to be put forward into the spotlight. Samuel Roy caught the eye this year for Louth. People have been talking about him a little bit. We've seen so little of the likes of Samuel Roy. Keith Byrne scored 2 sidelines for Leitrim a couple of weeks ago. If a player had done that in Division 1, 2 sidelines with the left boot, I think it's actually his wrong foot. Like, they'll be talked about it until the cows come home. So all we need is actually those games to be put up. Put it up on YouTube on Tuesday. Put it up after the highlight shows. Put it up and allow people to go and watch it. Put short clips up on TikTok. There's loads of great, young GA kids. Like when you're a teenager back in the day, you might have started a blog or something like that. There's loads of kids now setting up GA highlights channels on TikTok, where you'll go
just
and
on that point.
Yeah,
sorry to totally interrupting you here, but like we have this, because as Ger says at the start of the show, he has an Achilles problem. We're getting old. I'm 40 this year, so we think TV. Go United have 55,000 TikTok followers, right? Wow. And you see at Go United games, there are all of these kids going to games, like basically 16, 17-year-olds I've never seen before. And if you social media is now massive for little clips of, say, like all these players that like wouldn't necessarily get the exposure. Social media can bring that little clips of those sidelines that you're talking about, can make these players into heroes, like, and make them viral.
Oh, 100%, Johnny. That's so interesting. I didn't realise Go United had 55,000 TikTok views. But these are open goals that are there. And, like,
right.
They're talking about NFTs.
It's how young people are consuming it, you know what I mean?
But they're talking about NFTs and potentially investing in that regard. I don't know enough about that to be able to give out that much about it. But it doesn't make sense to me that you wouldn't get your own house in order with, these various channels that are open, that are there. The Tailteann Cup, it needs to be given the coverage, any bit of coverage, whatever about fixing the Division 4, Division 3, Division 2 coverage at the weekend. The Tailteann Cup we need to be shown what's going to happen here. What is the plan for this?
They should give the rights to that to TikTok instead of anybody else. Right, let's go on. Irish football is in the green after a 2-2 draw with the world number 1. This is at a sold-out Aviva. A late header against Belgium in the early stages of a campaign. I mean, for some people, it's definitely, you guys are blank stares. Frank Stapleton scored to equalise with a flying header against the Belgians, who at that stage had just finished in the '86 World Cup in the top 4 and had been beaten in the semi-final by Maradona. I was like, this is a good omen for Stephen Kenny. We can begin to dream after this, right?
I thought it was really, really positive again. Do you know, the funny thing about this game was the concession of the second goal, Ger, I thought was it was so un-Irish. I mean, they could have had 2, if not 3 free headers for the corner. The first goal, Stephen Kenny said, he was kind of saying, oh, that's an avoidable goal from our perspective. I think that was a bit less so. It was a bit of a one-on-one with Seamus Coleman, and it's a really good finish. Kelleher can't do anything about it. But other than that, Belgium, and fair enough, it's a second-string Belgium team. More to the point, like, they're not 100% at it. And it's, played in front of 50,000 in Ireland. So, it wasn't Belgium, an optimum Belgian performance. But didn't really create that much. They had one other chance off the top of my head, that kind of last-ditch Irish defending. And a lot of Ireland at the moment is this beautiful marriage of old Ireland and new Ireland. But, I mean, I just, do you know what I think my two favourite passes in that game did not end up in a goal at all. One of them was Jeff Hendrick's pass to Jason Knight, which was absolutely glorious. And Jason Knight then kind of was in a tough one-on-one. I think Ogbene was coming into the box and he was in two minds and it kind of fizzled out, but it wasn't Jason Knight's fault. Quality of the pass from Hendrick. Like, Hendrick has played 4 or 5 years for Ireland before Kenny came in, and he's been completely anonymous. And to just see him being able to show that. Beautiful, beautiful, world-class pass that nearly led to a goal. The second one was Robinson's flick that should have resulted in a goal early in the second half from James McLean's shot. James McLean, the effort he puts in is phenomenal. But that goal was set up by Seamus Coleman, who's a centre-back, winning the ball back roughly 25 yards from the other goal, dinking this lovely ball into the box. I was just so much positive about it. And then see Ogbene, this young kid from Cork who's just exploded onto the scene, playing League One. Like, he's playing League One. He's
not for long, yeah.
Wing back in League One, but that's where he's at. And he came through the League of Ireland, so on and so forth. And like Tommy's on about the kids on the pitch, like Ogbene has become an absolute hero to so many kids in Ireland now who look up to him, see this beautiful smile and see him saying to the world, just because we're Irish doesn't mean we can't play football, we can't be really good technically, we can't get overhead goals. And I was buzzing after the game. It's a 2-2 draw in a friendly, but I was buzzing after the game.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much.
It doesn't take much from the... Like, I spoke about this Saturday. Like, we're at such a low ebb. It's such a low ebb. And I've been to games, like, where Ireland have won. Cardiff comes to mind under Martin O'Neill, where it's just like... I'm not enjoying this anymore. I don't care if we win. We have to change what we're doing here. And to think, like, Stephen Kenny, if you talk about the nadir of the Luxembourg game 12 months ago, if he'd gotten the sack, and fair enough, the FAI did stick by him, but if he had gotten the sack or we'd moved on... Like, we could be just back to square one here again, where you have to give managers time, and fair enough, the 12 months were generally poor, and there was a lot of it was like, where are we going here? Will this ever work out? But you just see the players and the body language of the players, because I think the players themselves were downtrodden. When you come in and a coach is telling you, you're not good enough to do this, just try and get a 1-1 draw. It's not good enough anymore, and I'm just delighted to see that the players, the belief in themselves that he's inculcated in players who might not even be necessarily doing it at club level, like Hendrick. It's wonderful to see, and I'm delighted for him as well.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else to add to this? We're going to talk with Matt Holland a little bit later on.
No, but just Ogbene, it's just the magic that Johnny's talking about there. That's what we need. We need Irish footballers capturing the imagination, and that is one fella has done it. Like, the bicycle kick, even the way that whole move for the second goal, Doherty does brilliantly, I think, but Ogbene keeps it in, picks out Brown. What a moment! I know it's only a friendly, but like, class.
But like, when I was a kid, I remember Ireland friendlies. Like, I remember games against Germany, Holland. Obviously, the game that was called off and as a road against England. Like, as a young kid, I didn't care it was a friendly. Like, it meant so much to me. And I think young kids watching that game on Saturday, and I'm just thinking of these kids who want to play football for Ireland. They don't care if it was a friendly, and it felt like a friendly in one respect. But in other ways, you're coming off the pitch. That could have been. We had friendlies like under previous regimes, horrific 0-0 draws with no chances, and it was literally friendlies to get a result.
Yeah.
And now, what I love as well, lastly, is the fact that they obviously went behind twice, and probably an XG should have won the game.
What was Kenny's line? Was it, if we had played a low block, it would have been just a slow death?
Slow death, yeah. And that's it, like, because, you know, the first half an hour you're watching this, you're like, we are under a lot of pressure here, but you do get spells. And in fairness to Nathan Murphy, I will give him this, I think he was absolutely clairvoyant on this. He said, if the game is kind of plodding along, going nowhere, and the atmosphere wasn't that great in the first half an hour, just put Thierry Henry on the big screen. And it actually did change the game. It did. Ireland just started to play after that. And poor old Anthony Barry was probably like, why are they booing me?
Yeah, no,
I went to Belgium. I did a great job. Oh, it's Henry.
Well, I mean, they probably were booing him because of the reporting around the no-brainer comments.
No, I don't think they were.
I think there's a little bit of that.
No, they were booing Henry.
I mean, obviously they're booing Thierry Henry, but I think that there's a little bit of collateral damage where when you break up with somebody, you're supposed to stay stum. You say they were great. Oh, one of the best lovers I ever had. Really great. Absolutely.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, no. But my missus says to me, she's like, are they booing Thierry Henry? Like, seriously, have they not gotten over that? I was like, no, we haven't. We have not.
Have we got over Thierry Henry? That is the burning question this morning. Ronan wants to know, after Will slapped Chris at the Oscars, best out of the blue sporting slaps? I'm struggling to think of anything. Like, I've got...
sorry. Stephen Cluxon, Jason McAteer.
Ooh,
what was that?
They were playing...
That was in a charity match. A
charity five-a-side. And...
who decked who?
Cluxon decks McAteer.
I actually cannot think of two different people in the world in terms of loquaciousness and all of that. So, what happened?
I think McAteer probably nutmegged him or something, did he?
Yeah, I actually...
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, Johnny. We're going to have to go look it up. It's years ago.
Can we find it?
Nearly back as far as Frank Stapleton's go.
Can we do it like
McAteer's a lovely fella and does not deserve to be decked by anybody.
No, I'm not saying... Can we do half the screen is like Will Smith, half the screen is McAteer and Cluxon, just as it happens at the same time?
Look it up after. Jason McAteer called 10 years ago. Jason McAteer called on Hardman Cluxon to apologise for punch-up.
There was footage of it, though.
How did I miss that?
Speaking on News Talk's Off the Ball programme last night, McAteer failed to elaborate on what actually happened during the game, but apologised for his role in the incident and suggested that the Dublin keeper should do the same. Yeah.
I thought we'd footage of this, no?
I think there was. I don't know if there was footage, but I remember seeing photographs.
Brian Clough, Deck and Roy Keane had to be kind of entertaining as well.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not condoning it. I don't think a manager should be hitting his players.
No.
Can I keep going with the McAteer quote here?
Go on.
He should show some humility and maybe apologise rather than make out that he is a hard man. We know Stephen has a history getting sent off. He was sent off in that infamous incident where he let a lot of people down in Dublin, and it probably cost him in Ireland. I just feel it was a stupid thing he did. This is obviously before Cluxon kicks the winner a few months later.
Just briefly, we're going way over the time here and we're deviating. Any repercussions from the scuffle there, Mad Donegal stuff?
I'm sure it'll be a pick and mix of suspensions, Johnny. They couldn't pick out anyone apparently last night on League Sunday, so we'll hear from the CCCCCCC on Tuesday night.
And what about the red cards at this stage of the season? Do they matter for anybody?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, so I've no idea what happened in the Division 4 games, but if those straight red cards are upheld, both those players are going to miss Leitrim's clash against London and Sligo's trip to New York. So, two key players. So it's hard to know. Now, the thing with GA legalities, there's a million loopholes.
Queeveen says, where is Owen up Tyrone? Queeveen, he's in the queue for Berghain. We're still wondering if he's got in or not. It's Michael says Monaghan have had Dublin's number for some time. I mean,
true.
Have they really though?
It's been like draw I think in the last 3 league games.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, did they meet in the championship when a big game yesterday for it was a big game, and absolutely I'm not taking anything away from them, but like, let's see you do it in Croker, lads, in a championship knockout game. And Shifty Lad says the league should be linked to the All-Ireland. Forget the provinces. Imagine the top 6 in Division 1 going through. Dubs will be out at this stage. We're not going back to Plan B because we had that conversation. We did our bit and we failed, and we're sorry for letting you down.
You are kind of looking at yesterday though, and as Tommy says, the drama that was going on, and like, you know, the smaller counties in 10 or 20 years time,
self-evident.
It's going to be
obvious.
But it is in terms of like tradition and in terms of what should happen, it is edging ever closer to some sort of league.
It's not.
I think it is.
I
think it is. Last word on this because we're way over. One Leinster county voted for Proposal B. The wrong folks have the vote.
13 minutes past 8 this morning. That is this week's Gillette Labs Performance Rankings.
OTB AM's Performance Rankings with Gillette.
Right, we'd love to hear from you. 0879 180 180 is the WhatsApp number, or of course you can leave a comment on the YouTube stream. The performance rankings are up on youtube.com/off the ball every week, and you should subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll let you know whenever any of the good stuff happens. Now, the flat is back, cracking back into action with Acura and Nace joining forces over the weekend. Ahead of those cards, Johnny himself got the chance to sit down with Colin Keane, Ronan Whelan and Siobhan Rutledge, who spoke about the impact of Jumpstar Rachel Blackmore.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
Just to have the level of passion around again. People love the idea of coming and supporting Ireland. We're all really proud to represent Ireland.
He wants us to play attractive football, wants us to get the crowd on their feet, wants us to be attacking.
In swinger. Oh, the Republic of Ireland have scored! John Egan with his first ever international goal! What a moment for Stephen Kenny! The biggest moment of Kenny's reign so far!
Support has been magnificent and singing my name, but I'm happier just thinking about the players, because the players really deserve credit.
Full live commentary of the Republic of Ireland against Lithuania this Tuesday on OTB Sports Radio.
Yeah, we mentioned Cheltenham and Rachel Blackmore as well. In terms of being, a young kind of woman in the sport of racing, how much has she done for, I guess, girls who would like to think that they could be the next Rachel Blackmore or Siobhan Rutledge?
Yeah, well, like the figures in the racing academy there have shot up the girls that are in it this year. I think it's more than half females now this year.
Wow.
Which is that's never been the case. I was in there 7 years ago and we had the biggest lot of girls, and it was still far less than half. I think there might have been 7 of us or something like that. So she's really, I suppose, inspiring all these young female riders to give it a go, yeah. And
the sport itself, so much in terms of staff, it's like 50-50 basically, men and women, and from the staff right down that look after the horses every day. To me, it strikes me as a sport where it doesn't matter who you are, really.
Yeah, exactly. We probably have more females now in our yard than we do lads riding out, and yeah, it is 50-50 in that sense, but it's just interesting to see which ones go on and try and give it a go on the track. And a lot of them that are good enough, they don't for whatever reason, but that's not because they wouldn't be able to,
FBD Insurance knows this sound spells trouble for van drivers. But if you're an existing FBD customer, you'll get 15% off a new van insurance policy. It's how we're keeping you and your van on the road. Visit fbd.ie or contact your local branch. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Terms and conditions apply. 15% discount available on new commercial motor policies only when an existing FBD farm, business, car or home policy is in place. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Commercial motor insurance is underwritten by FBD Insurance plc.
OTB AM.
With Gillette. Get into your flow with the new Gillette Labs razor with exfoliating bar.
All right, it's 16 minutes past 8. You're very welcome back to OTB AM. It's Ger and Johnny with you this morning. And if you've got something you'd like to get off your chest, you can WhatsApp the show. 0879 180 180 is the WhatsApp number. Or, of course, you can leave a comment on the YouTube stream as well. Now, I'm delighted to say Matt Holland is with us. Matt, good morning to you. How are you getting on?
Well, thanks. Yourselves?
Yeah, pretty good. There is a lot of enthusiasm around. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of credit going around. What was your take? What was your immediate aftermath feeling about the 2-2 draw at the weekend?
Well, I thought it was a good performance. I thought obviously the first half an hour was difficult. Didn't get much of the ball. It was played at a slower tempo. And Belgium totally dominated really for that first half an hour. But after that, I thought we did much better. We lifted the intensity. I thought we pressed better. I thought that started from the back. John Egan and Seamus Coleman both trying to follow their forwards into midfield and win the ball higher up the pitch. So I think it finished much better than it started. And I think there was a lot to enjoy about the game at the weekend.
Just on that, Matt, you're on about Coleman and Egan pressing high up the pitch, and that was extremely noticeable for Coleman for the chance that Robinson nearly scored. Is that a product of playing 5 at the back or 3 at the back, that you can basically say to one of your centre backs, don't worry about going high up the pitch because we will have cover in the event of that?
Yeah, I think that's true, and I also think the position of Josh Cullen helps in that as well because he's so disciplined in the job that he does in front of that back three as well. So I think it gives the likes of Coleman and Egan that security and licence that if they do go forward and get caught higher up the pitch, they've got someone in Josh Cullen who's quite happy to fill in one of those positions as well. So I think it's a mix of the fact that it's a back three, but also the discipline of Josh Cullen just in front of them.
And as a midfielder, what do you make of Cullen's role for Ireland in terms of how he's sort of exploded from left field onto the scene, and how important is he to them?
I think he is incredibly important. I think he's an absolute manager's dream because you know what you're going to get from him. You know the effort, the commitment, the desire that you're going to get from him. But the discipline that he offers you as well, because, you know, if I was playing in that position, I'd probably at times get a little bit frustrated, feel as though I could, you know, perhaps go a little bit higher up at times, maybe vacate my position. But Josh is very happy just to stay in that area and try and patrol in front of that back three. Keeps it quite simple, keeps the ball moving. I think he's become a really important figure in this Stephen Kenny side.
What from this game, what can they take? Because some of the games that we've played recently, we've kind of won relatively comfortably over the, and I'm talking the immediate short term before this, but it was never against a team as good as this. And you know, I know that Belgium didn't have their very top tier players, so we're not getting too carried away here, but it was a good side that Belgium played. They still have really good strength in depth. So what are they going to take away from those games where we aren't going to have a lot of possession? What did you see in terms of it being adaptable against superior opposition?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. It's a great game to try and show the progress that's been made under Stephen, because I think in the first 12 months, we know it didn't go to plan, but there's a lot of experimentation, a lot of debuts, and a lot of changes and a lot of problems that Stephen Kenny encountered in that first 12 months. Since then, it's become more settled. And I think if you look at the game against Luxembourg last time, then this one against Belgium, if he could, he probably would have selected the same team, even though there was such a big gap between the two matches. If Gavin Pizzuno had been fit, then he probably would have played. And if Adam Eder had been fit, he might well have played up top, and it would have been exactly the same 11. So we're seeing a more settled environment, I think, now with this Ireland team. I think I learned that Callum Robinson's probably not a number 9. I know he can play in that position. I know he can play up front. He's very versatile. And I think there was a lot of rotation actually about that front three of Bene, Jason Knight and Callum Robinson. But I think he's slightly better when he's maybe slightly wider or slightly withdrawn, coming to get the ball slightly deeper. But I just think we're seeing now the fruits of a lot of hard work over the last couple of years. And we're seeing a more settled team from the experimental side that we saw, say, 12 months ago.
They just seem happy players as well, don't they? I mean, it must be important, Matt, that you go into you go on your international break, and even if you're Brown, you're coming off the bench, you want to make an impact, even if you're not playing. They seem, I don't know, their body language for me is just chalk and cheese compared to the Ireland of maybe 5 years ago.
Well, even a couple of years ago, and you're losing some games that you feel as though you shouldn't lose. You know, at home to Luxembourg, you're coming off the pitch.
Even a year ago, yeah.
Exactly, and the devastation of those moments, and you know that the stick that you're going to get from the likes of us, and in the media, and reading the ratings in the paper and all that sort of stuff, and the slaughtering that you're going to get for a poor performance. All of a sudden, now there's a lot more confidence about going into games, and that you're going to win matches. Obviously, scoring goals helps as well, which has been better. Obviously, that was a problem, and still not perfect, but certainly look like we're creating more and scoring more. So there is a lot more confidence about the group now, going into matches, that they can create chances and they can get good results.
Talk to us a little bit about the deficiencies from the game, the 2 goals that were conceded and some of the other chances that were given up. That's the type of thing that will annoy a manager, but at the same time, it is a friendly. That's kind of the point of this: is you get those little quirks out and you make sure that they don't happen in the competitive games. From the set piece, is it just you sit there for a couple of hours in the video room until everybody's so bored where they're never going to do that again?
There'd be an element of that, definitely. I mean, if you're a manager watching that one back, you'd be scratching your head as to how he got a free header, but also there was a man next to him who was free as well. So it wasn't just one man who was free; there was 2 that were free. So you will be scratching your head as to how that happened, and that is one that they will run over and over again and try and sort out. The first one, I think you can forgive a little bit. Look, the team wants to try and play out from the back. That's the way it is. That's the nature of this side now. Yes, you can mix it, and yes, you can go long at times. And actually, there was occasions when I felt that we didn't go long enough at times, because Chidozie Ogbene made in the first 20 minutes he made 3 or 4 runs in behind the Belgian defence, and I'm thinking, just play him in. Let's just turn them, because they were trying to play quite high up and we're having a lot of the ball, and we didn't take that opportunity, and we continue to try and play a little bit too short at times. But it's the nature of the side and the style of football that Stephen Kenny wants to play, that he wants to try and play through midfield. So I can sort of, I think you can forgive that first goal and the way he took it as well. I mean, Seamus will come under a bit of criticism for showing him inside and opening the goal up, but I mean, the way he took it so quickly, I think it was such a difficult one to defend against, and I give Kelleher absolutely no chance to save it. The second one is definitely one that you're going to look back and think, we can do a bit better with that one.
Yeah, and I think in terms of depth as well, it is quite interesting. If you look at Omumba Medele, Darragh O'Shea, Gavin Bazunu, Adam Ida, and then you've like Obafemi, who may come into the mix, and Conley, who've been reasonably, especially Obafemi playing well at championship level. Young players coming through. I don't know. There are reasons to be positive, I think, anyway, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, look, we're going to see changes, aren't we, tomorrow? There's going to be some rotation. The nature of some of the players that are involved in Premier League struggles. Seamus Coleman, will he play? I mean, will he be rested? There's going to be rotation and changes. So we're going to see players come into it. I mean, look, Nathan Collins at the back is only 20. Ryan Manning, Dara O'Shea, Jason Malumbi comes back into it, so he's got another opportunity possibly from the start. I expect Will Keane will probably get the nod from the start again. He's got 20 goals this season for Wigan. So you're right, and then there's the players that are not here who are unavailable as well. So we are starting to see a deeper squad, if you like, as well, and a bit more competition for places. Albeit, it has been a fairly settled team the last few matches.
We're very excited about Jason Knight and the progression in his career and the amount of game time that he's had at this stage for somebody so young. There's a good chance if Derby go down as we expect at this point that he gets picked off and released. And what is his level and what's his best position in your view, Matt?
Great question. I mean, what is his level? Who knows? Because a lot can change. There's players who come onto the scene very early and fade away very quickly. There's others who come late and develop their game at a much slower rate, but they have a very good career. With Jason, I'm really not sure what his level is. I'm confident that he could play at the top level, and he's a player that really excites me. I love his energy. I love his running ability. I love his touch and his awareness. And
it's awareness and kind of game intelligence with him, isn't it?
Yeah, positions to pick up, positions to run into, to stretch the pitch at times. When to go long, when to come short. He's got a good football brain, and he's someone that has massively impressed me. I mean, look, I honestly think you could play him a little bit deeper. I think he could come from deep, but he's a player that I've got a lot of confidence that he will have a long, successful career and will play at the very, very highest level. He's a player that does excite me.
We had a long debate about what the best formation for this Ireland team was as Kenny got the job and he developed and evolved, and then it's clear at the moment that the three at the back is the direction he's going for now. But there is a world in which we suddenly have a bunch of young, very energetic midfielders like Knight, like Malumbi, like Josh Cullen, and maybe a three in that central area is the direction we should go for the World Cup qualifying campaign, or by the end of the Euros we could be getting there. So, it's kind of unwritten for where Knight will be if he's kind of, somebody who is hard running and running past the forwards.
Yeah, he could play easily. I mean, look, you could play two split strikers and one in behind as a number 10, which Jason Knight could play in. I think he could play a little bit deeper if need be. You're absolutely right that the three suits us. I said that as soon as Stephen Kenny got the job, because when you're looking at the personnel in the squad, the players at the back all played in the back three at club level. John Egan, Shane Duffy. To get Coleman and Matt Doherty in the same team, it probably had to be a back three. So I always felt that back three was the way to go. And now you're right. I mean, look, against the very best teams, it might be that we have to adapt that a little bit, just that front line, maybe drop one in as a number 10, because a lot of teams play three in the middle of the pitch, and you've got to be careful of that at times. So it might be that we adapt it and have two quick players up top who split. And I mean, look, it'd be interesting to see what happens against the very best sides, but it's options. I think the back three absolutely is cast in stone, and then you're going to have your two holding midfield players. Is it going to be one in front? Is it going to be two ahead and one up front? I mean, that's what Stephen Kenny's asked to decide game to game, but I think that's the only area where we'll see any change in terms of the formation.
Do you think tomorrow night, Matt, we'll see maybe more evidence of the kind of the Eustace addition to the kind of tactical side of things in possession and so forth, where because obviously there's a lot of chat about Andy Barry and the role he played. Eustace is very well regarded. This is a game where we'll have probably 70%, 67% possession, something like that. Will his impression kind of become evident, do you think?
Maybe. I mean, look, he hasn't had a lot of time, has he? Let's be honest. He's not had a great deal of time on the training ground with the players, particularly. I know he's a well-regarded coach, and it will be interesting to see what the way we go about things tomorrow, and if there is any influence from John Eustace. But I think it's still very early in his time, and it's a case of him trying to get to know the group, get to know the players, getting to know how things are done. So I think it's still very early, really, to see what he's going to bring to the party. But certainly he's a well-regarded coach, and I'm looking forward to seeing his influence in the coming months.
It is quite stark, though, isn't it, that the difference in the kind of almost like slave to the narrative philosophy of the early Kenny days of passing out from the back, and we saw what happened in Faro, and to a lesser extent even against Serbia, where there is this more pragmatic kind of don't be afraid, we've pace on the break here, mix it up a bit.
Absolutely. I think, as I said, I think even in the early stages of the Belgium game, we didn't do it enough. I think because Benny made 3 or 4, as I say, really good runs, and no one saw him or we didn't play it. And so absolutely, I think it's right to mix it up. You can't be a team that just plays in front of teams. You've got to be able to get in behind them, and when we've got the pace that we've got at the top end of the pitch, then we have to utilise that. We can't be a side that just says, yeah, we'll keep the ball. At the end of it, there has to be some sort of penetration, and I think that's what we're seeing now. But as I say, in the first 20 minutes of the game on Saturday, I still felt that we didn't do it enough.
What should the ambition be? We've seen the importance of the Nations League and progress through the Nations League. The teams who are using it as a method to actually find your best team, find your identity, find your style of play, get big crowds in for the home games. They're the ones who are progressing, as we're seeing through the qualifiers and the playoffs at the moment. So it is actually important. Kenny made a rod for his own back by saying he thinks we can get out of our group and we can progress and get up to the top tier. But in another way, while it's very un-Irish to be that ambitious publicly, maybe it's exactly the right thing to do.
Absolutely, crikey! I mean, you've got to set yourself targets. You've got to be ambitious. There's no point playing the game if you're just taking part. You have to ultimately get results. I mean, even at the start, everyone was hoping that Stephen Kenny would turn things around, but the results weren't coming, and there was going to be a kind of stage where everyone that pressure was going to come on top of Stephen. But as it is, he has been able to turn that around, and I think he has to be ambitious. He has to set himself those targets, and so the immediate aim is do well in the Nations League, but the ultimate aim is to qualify for Euro 2024.
Like obviously, maybe we want to qualify, but I didn't see any reason for the criticism or like the suggestion that he shouldn't have said that we can top this Nations League group, because for me this is eminently achievable with this Ireland team. Definitely,
I agree. I mean, I think we are more than capable of doing that. No problem at all. So he has to be ambitious. I mean, I don't get it either. I mean, I didn't even know there was criticism of him for saying that, because I think it's exactly the right thing to say. You're a group of 4 teams, and we're a team that in good form, playing some good football, confident team. Why can't we win the week? We're in the group.
I do think like the days of when Matty was playing in that era, and it's 20 years ago now, but I do think this is the best team, or the best vibe we've had about an Ireland team. I think since that time, Matty, where in fairness in your era, like we had proper world-class players in attacking positions that we probably still don't have. But I don't know, do you feel that we might be hopefully come back to that level?
I hope so. I mean, look, it'd be nice to qualify for the major tournaments, and nice to qualify for a World Cup. I think that'd be the ultimate aim. It's, as you say, 20 years since we did that. So there's been a lot of World Cups since we last qualified. So I think that's probably the ultimate goal being qualifying for Euro 2024. Yeah, we'd love to, but I think the World Cup in 2026 would be the dream, really. So yeah, I get a nice vibe about it. I think I'm excited about where we're going and how we're playing, and hopefully that those ambitions can be realised. So you're right. I mean, we don't have a Robbie Keane, someone who's going to score you 60 odd goals at international level, which is just a ridiculous number. We haven't got that at the moment. A Damien Duff who can do something out of nothing. But we have got some good players. We've got a good vibe. We've got a good team look about us at the moment, and they are the ambitions that we've got to try and rise to.
Would you make many changes for the game against Lithuania, or would you try and keep as many as you can without annoying your club managers?
Difficult balancing act, isn't it? Because ultimately you want to keep the run going. You want to make sure that you win the game, and that's the most important thing. Keep that run going, keep that momentum. But at the same time, you also know that there's a lot of club managers who will be knocking on your door saying, can we just be a little bit careful with such and such? Can we be a bit careful with him because we need him for the run-in and we've got important games coming up? And you've also got a number of players who've travelled who are desperate to get some minutes and get onto the pitch. So, yeah, absolutely, there'll be a few changes. How many, I'm not entirely sure, but there will be some rotation.
I think that's one of the real positives during now is that, like, I'm sure in Matty's time and every time there have been camps across like various countries where international players are indifferent, almost hoping they're injured for stuff like this. I think the Ireland players are absolutely buzzing to be involved with Ireland at the moment, regardless of what's going on at their club, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, definitely. Players want to turn up, don't they, and play, and they'll be knocking on Stephen's door saying, please give me some minutes.
I think the full stadium makes a difference as well, Matt.
Oh, it's great. It was great. Yeah, the atmosphere was brilliant, wasn't it? It was great when Thierry Henry made an appearance on the big screen, and that actually probably turned the game a little bit, didn't it? I think Nathan
called it here on Saturday. He said if things are going bad, put him on the big screen and everything changes, and it actually did happen. Yeah,
I had dinner with a director actually who did that, and he was talking about it and saying and said that he was about to bring it down, then the ball went out of place. He could leave the picture of Thierry on the screen a little bit longer, and so he did, and it got the reaction, didn't it, that it needed.
I would go as far as to say that changed the course, that director of Irish football. If we'd lost that game, who knows what might have happened. Thank you, Mr. Director. Thank you for revealing that story, Matty.
No, brilliant, isn't it?
Matt Holland, good stuff. Thanks a million. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. See you. Bye-bye.
That's excellent insight there.
I did not expect that.
Into the moment of the game, you know.
Who cares about Will Smith? OTB AM for your exclusive director kind of conversations. It did. Like, I had to work for Off the Ball. I couldn't make the game, despite representations of too much respect for John Duggan. I said, I'm not going to abandon you like Dan McDonald does to go to Lansdowne Road. So I had to watch the game on TV. But the crowd did seem a little bit sort of in party mode for the first sort of 20-25 minutes, and when it just changed, it really seemed to change when Thierry Henry appeared on the TV screen. We should do this every game now, just put up Thierry Henry in the big screen,
no matter what. So we're playing English like Thierry Henry. Yeah. All right, very good. It's 8:37 this morning here on OTB AM. If you've got a view on the Republic of Ireland's performance at the weekend, we'd love to hear from you. You can get it at Off the Ball AM on Twitter, or of course 0879 180 180 is the WhatsApp number. It is time for the sports pages.
Yes, out there, so many spoofers. There's a lot of horse.
I think he's a total spoofer.
What do you mean a spoofer?
He's just bullshit.
No, Eamon, come on, don't be. No, I'm not having that. No.
You can't say that. So the back page of the English papers. Plans that would enable clubs to qualify for the Champions League based on historic performance and not their league position are back on the table a year after the collapse of the European Super League. This is being pushed by the clubs, and that is their controversial, it says, Champions League proposals. So basically, Champions League positions are pointless. I don't know, will it happen? Moving day. Dubs lead Leinster race to bottom, and Kenny, we're going great. GREIGHT.
They've an interesting team there, the Sun. They've gone with kind of a capital gains, like a kind of
capital strains and gains.
So they've sort of put some sort of nexus between Ireland and Dublin, which it's almost like the hurl, as if like it's appealing to a Dublin audience.
Maybe
interesting. Oh, it's Benny's there.
The big population centre. Only you, Rue snub Toffees as heart set on Reds. He wants to be the Man United manager. He's like, nah, the Everton job, not taking that. I'm going to be the United manager. Front page, Chat champion jockey. It's Nina Carberry after last night.
What a woman Nina is. Can I do this, son?
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
I just love
the star. Yeah.
I do love a photo of a player and his mother after the game, and Joe Canning lost his mother in recent months, and the photo emerged of them of her smile as he came up to her. I'm pretty sure it was after the All-Ireland win 2017, and it was a beautiful, beautiful image, and I think it's lovely to see something like this just Jack McCarron, his mother, Patricia, after the game, and what that meant in Monaghan. Maybe Dick Clerkin said they're never going to win All Ireland, but just looking at the TV last night, there seemed to be a raucous atmosphere in Clonus, and Jack McCarron, I don't know, will he ever have a better day than that? The goal, the performance, the free kick at the end, and then capped off, and his mother is wearing a nice pair of Ray-Bans to Patricia, as if she knew she was going to be on the back page.
Do they say we'll never win All Ireland to not jinx it? Is it like a reverse jinx?
Because when you look at Kevin McStay last night, and like he's basically talking up Mayo big time. He's like the amount of chances they had, but obviously people in Mayo, will you shut up, Kevin? Will you shut up? Will you play it down? We'll never win All Ireland. Look what happened this last year, Kevin. Stop, will you? Right? They create a lot of chance, whereas Dick Clerkin might be doing the exact opposite. Whereas McStay is obviously conscious of the fact that a good friend of mine, Shane Lohan, the commissioner we call him, he gets it right. He said this is Mayo's year, and he always is knocking Mayo. He doesn't like Mayo. He says Mayo will win the All Ireland this year. Right. I am kind of thinking it might be this year as well, Ger.
At 8:40 this morning, John Duggan is here. John.
Ger and Johnny, how are we doing?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks.
Where do you want to start?
Wow.
I was kind of angry about this whole league thing. I was like, a League Sunday was on for 2 hours last night, and I'm thinking, this is just such a pain, because it was so exciting yesterday. It was presenting, and you're seeing the split screen on the TV and Nematon and the permutations and everything, and then Shane Hannon tweeting out like they'd almost won the All Ireland up in Monaghan. It was an ice cream day for them, and you're going into the drudgery of the provinces now. And this is probably the best day we're going to have in GA football until the All Ireland's semi-finals. And I'm just kind of thinking to myself, this is just a load of bull.
Do you think we're moving more towards some sort of a league format as the All Ireland?
I hope that would have been the case with Proposal B.
We had the chance.
Yeah, I think it'll take time though.
Well, how much time? 1884.
I know.
2022. How much bloody time?
So many stories yesterday. Like the Dubs travelling up to Monaghan, a great day. The first day we good weather. Louth being promoted, Mickey Harsh, back-to-back promotions. Limerick getting into Division 2.
Louth's back-to-back as well.
Yeah, Cork and Offaly, like down to the wire. Just a brilliant day of stories. You could talk, like, it's stories to last a whole week. And imagine you had that every week, and what that could generate in terms of the interest and the buzz around county towns. And I just feel it's so frustrating that you've got the drudgery of these provinces that mean nothing. And they mean nothing because of the back door. And you're going to have this fudge structure with these seedings, and then you got these 4 groups of 4 and 16 teams. It is just so wrong for me, and that's my kind of feeling about it. In terms of the Dubs, they've just come back to the pack. Kildare Meath will feel they have a chance now of winning Leinster for the first time.
Do you reckon?
Outside of Dublin, I think since 2010. There's so many things you could point at. Like, we don't really know yet. Desi Farrell didn't seem too perturbed. But like, there was a reason I put Jim Gavin on Mount Rushmore when I did the Dublin Mount Rushmore. There'll never be another. And there's so many things. But I do think if you're so sated like the Dubs were, and if you lose Cluxton and Mannion and McCaffrey, and possibly with the players there, is the hunger there? There has to be questions probably asked by the management of the coaching. 3-13, a concession to Monaghan. Dubs had beaten these teams before they even got onto the pitch in previous years.
Kildare play Dublin this year. Just say, is Daniel Flynn the most talented player on the pitch?
Is Con playing? I don't know. Do you know? I mean, like,
played very well last year, despite the.
Yeah, well, you're also talking about like a generational midfielder in Fenton whose form isn't at his all-time high.
One of the best midfielders of all time.
But he's been in that conversation with Jack O'Shea. So like, Daniel Flynn is not in that conversation, you know. And I think Flynn needs to put together a season or 2 or 3 where his game involvement isn't just amazing goals that are scored out of nothing, but that actually he's using his pace and power to bring other players into it. Like, he's unbelievably gifted. He is as gifted as any footballer that's out there at the moment. But you know, we've seen those players sometimes mature quite late, where it looks like they're capable of doing anything, but actually they put together 3 or 4 seasons in a row in their late 20s, early 30s, and that's the period where. But it'd be great if we could.
The buzz is kind of back in Kildare.
Well, yeah. I think that. I think you'd make Dublin 2 to 3 point favourites if they were to play in a Leinster semi-final or final.
That's amazing. Like, that last year, that was 13. Well, like, that is a seismic difference. 2 to 3. It might be more than that. But the fact that we're saying that, and JD's even saying Meath could possibly win Leinster, or think that they could win it, it's an amazing change in 12 months.
Yeah, it is. The retirements have been like absolutely critical to that. You know, like the Dublin team is no longer the Dublin team.
There's more to it than that, though, Ger. There's like you look at their defending yesterday, the body language throughout the league. A lot of like even the mistakes that were made, like McCarthy's mistake that led to the first yellow and so on.
But they didn't win a load of leagues under Jim Gavin. They didn't get
relegated though.
No, I mean it wasn't. Like
lost to Armagh at home, lost to Armagh at Croke Park.
Monaghan's record is really good. Yeah, but I think that like you if you take the 150 All Ireland medals out of the dressing room and you inject it with lads who didn't get any game time previously because the person who was ahead of them was an all-time great, you know, a team of the Millennium contender. It's difficult. So there's that transition period, and whether or not they can accelerate that and whether or not the players get their form and hunger back, it'll be very interesting to see. So
yeah, transition's healthy. Renewal's healthy. I'm relaxed about it. I think it's going to be a wide open All-Ireland series this year. I think Kerry is still the favourites, but Tyrone winning down in Killarney for the first time in 19 years yesterday was important. Darren McCurry with 1-7. Galway, until yesterday, had a unblemished record. Look, it is the best competition, but the one with the least meaning compared to the championship. We will not know really until we see the patterns emerge within the championship. And the hurling front, I do think Waterford are right there. They are right there in terms of the All-Ireland race. I can see that more clearly than I can maybe see the football, 5-20-16. I know Wexford didn't really show up yesterday, but Waterford were clearly a better team, whether Wexford had shown up or not. Ozzie Gleeson getting 2-3 before being sent off. So that final between Waterford and Cork is in Thurles on Saturday. Then you've got the doubleheader next Sunday at Croke Park, Roscommon, Galway, and Kerry and Mayo in the Football League. Scotty Scheffler is the number one in the world. Amazing stuff. 6 weeks ago, he'd never won a tournament. He's won 3 in the last 42 days. Obviously, the recency bias in the world rankings is wrong. It should be weighted more towards the majors, but it just, I suppose, shows the depth of talent there is in golf at the moment. And John Ram has been displaced by Scotty Scheffler, who won the match play in Texas, beat Kevin Kisner. Seamus Power up to 41st is in the Masters. What a story that is. 429th in the world at the end of 2020. He pockets 350 grand for this.
350 grand, it's not bad.
Not bad for a bit of work. Nice house on the beach in Waterford when he goes home.
Yeah. Well, 350 grand in Dublin right now might get you like a front gate maybe. And you actually, first of all, you have to get a mortgage. No, he's okay on that front. Second of all, he has to get somebody to put up the gate. And then thirdly, he'll have a myriad of other problems.
You can turn up with cash in an envelope.
It's James Stewart, sorry. That's fine. Totally legit, yeah.
Yeah. Max Verstappen winning in Saudi Arabia. It was a good overtaking manoeuvre to overhaul Charles Leclerc for the Drive to Survivors. They're back in vogue. And obviously we're all giddy about what happened on Saturday. Are
you giddy, JD?
I'm feeling good about it, but I do think, like, if you even look at the second goal, we can't get too carried away. I do feel there's an authenticity there with the team, and there's a connection with the team and the supporters, and I do feel if we go down, we will go down fighting. But there will be a reality check, and also beating teams that are weaker than us, like Lithuania on Tuesday, is important, because that's something we struggle to do.
You still have to look at the players that were playing on Saturday. Like, we've James McLean playing left wing back. We have Ogbene, who's playing for Rotherham up front, with Callum Robinson, who's been struggling at club level, Jason Knight, who's playing for Derby at the bottom of the championship, Josh Cullen's playing for Anderlecht, Hendrick, has had a very patchy, he's had to go out on loan. The sum of their parts are still, like, we should be really impressed at this level of players, because, like, we're talking to Matt Holland there. I mean, we're still miles off that kind of calibre of player that we had. Yes, we're able to say, yeah, we can beat Belgium at home, even a second string Belgium. I think, like, in terms of how far we've come in that 12 months is quite stark.
Well,
and we're scoring goals though.
Yesterday was 12 months to the day of Luxembourg, so that was a real nadir. So look, it's positive. The Nations League will tell a lot.
And all that stuff, all the noise is gone around the contract.
The culture war is over.
Yeah,
if it ever existed for me. Anyway.
I mean, it clearly did. There were definitely people on the board who were reluctant,
but there was a lot of
leaks coming.
I know text messages don't necessarily reflect on Saturday or Sunday what the wider public things. There was a lot of rage around after the Azerbaijan game, with people going, "Get this guy out." So that has dissipated. You're not seeing that now when people. I always felt like when COVID was over, what would the people on the ground to go to the games say? And they
showed up.
They've clearly endorsed what's happening.
I thought the Azerbaijan game was actually the nadir for me because he got his team selection totally wrong. Like, he went with the 3 lads up front. It didn't work. And in the second half, we resorted to old school tactics to get a crappy draw. And to me, that was the nadir because the Luxembourg game, there was no one at it and there were other extenuating circumstances. That was probably for me the low point, and we've come a long way, thankfully, since then.
Yeah, let's hope there are no more Luxembourg or Azerbaijans
or going down against Andorra
in our future. Yeah. Anything else, JD?
Not really, not much going on today. It's been a strange week, really. There's not much been happening until yesterday, and then you literally could spend the next 3 to 4 days going poring over what happened in the league yesterday. And that's going to be a bit lost, and that's a bit of a shame.
I thought you'd have been in the Harold House last night. Big celebrations for Maidan McGuinness as well.
Well, a case of you winning in Maidan at the weekend, that was worth, over 600,000 for a case of you and Maidan McGuinness and Rona Whelan winning that huge race, that Group 1 contest in Maidan on Dubai World Cup weekend, where Raggy Dottori won the big race. So. And then they had, I was told to back Spanish tenor yesterday and I didn't at Nace, and it's an absolute disaster because he was 28-1 in the morning. And they had a laugh a minute win. They're a yard really on the up, Aidan McGuinness's yard. So no celebrations for me though, still Johnny, until Easter Sunday, as hard as it's getting now not to celebrate the sun. And
the weather.
Easter Sunday is going to be some celebration.
It's literally now, I'm walking through town, this is peak people watching, sitting on the stools, afternoon pints weather.
Jesus and JD will rise again.
Yeah. So,
what did you think of Will Smith?
Me?
Yeah.
I think he's got issues. I think that first of all he shouldn't have done what he did, and then you're crying. Also, it takes away from the Williams family, and secondly, how many Best Actor Oscars do you win? Like Robert De Niro won it once. This happens maybe once in your career, and like Hollywood to me is finished. And I think the Oscars has jumped the shark. That's just my personal opinion. And I just thought this was strange stuff. I don't know what you guys think, but I just found it very strange.
I just was watching it and still haven't because we came straight on air, got up, watched this, come straight on air, and
it's my toast.
The toast is actually right beside me here.
Couldn't finish it. Just had to watch Will Smith, and I missed the part where he actually decked him. I think JD might be right though. It's a bit mad. In terms of your general well-being.
You'll be remembered for this rather than winning the Best Actor.
Or Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
Andrew Garrity says, Paddy O'Shea on Dinny Allen, that was some slap.
Yeah.
That was a punch.
And I just got up.
This was a slap like you'd seen in a Batman cartoon.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, because I was looking at it and I was like, was that one of these really badly acted slaps?
You know, like something out of Andy Kaufman. It was a fake thing.
It was like that. It was like that. I've only watched it once.
But if it was a punch, you're sure he would have obviously gone into the ground. Not that in any way we're advocating that. And then he's in tears. I just think the whole thing is utterly bizarre. You couldn't have scripted it.
Thierry Henry
scripted.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was.
The reactions. The people have done montage of the reactions in the audience. It's something to see.
Nice segue to Thierry Henry.
Thierry Henry. Noel Cowell says it was pathetic. I was embarrassed by the booing. We're worse than England in the Maradona handball. Get over yourself. He's saying.
But no,
you let the ball bounce in the penalty area.
Yeah. That Roy Keane's reaction was interesting, but no, it wasn't so much Thierry Henry handling the ball. It was sitting down beside Richard Dunn like they were kind of two lads like chatting about the weather, not having it, and then he'll never be forgiven for it.
Should they have applauded him instead? Says Luke Moran. It wouldn't exactly call it embarrassing, Noel. And Adrian says that comment is embarrassing. Henry celebrated wildly after cheating, then sat down with Dunn playing the nice guy.
Exactly.
Never forget. Never forgive, and whatever you say nothing. OTB AM is brought to you live each morning by Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. John, thanks very much for that. More from JD across the course of the day on otbsports.com and on the OTB Sports app. Paul Finlay was covering Monaghan, Dublin and Clonus with us yesterday. Here he is with Stephen Doyle talking about Jack McCarron's performance.
Jack McCarron, what could you say about his performance? You know, it was just sublime. You know, everything that you would like about a forward, Jack McCarron displayed it today. There was dummies, there was beautiful scores kicked off left and right. There was a beautiful, chipped goal, but that we love to see in Gaelic football guys displaying these sorts of skills like so. And then did that all important score at the end when it looked like maybe Dublin had snatched a draw with a late penalty. for Jack to stand up on the 45-yard line and be able to kick a free from that with all sorts of pressure on. You know, credit to them, credit to the team. As I say, I didn't see it coming, but they got the job done, and it's another Houdini act, you could call it, but you know, it's just what Monaghan do.
Yeah, that was high praise for Jack McCarron's performance there.
Text from a Dublin fan, be big into it. I'd say Kerry would destroy them in a semi-final. Kerry defensively, to me, I don't know. Again, I'm looking at the highlights yesterday, but they don't exactly look impenetrable at all. Like
Anthony Moyles is with us this morning. Anthony, good morning to you. How are you?
Gents, how are we doing?
Yeah, good. Wild speculation from an unnamed source in Johnny's...
Kev Coughlin, good Jude's man.
His kitchen cabinet. Kerry would destroy Dublin in a semi-final. Would they?
No, don't think so. I don't think they destroyed them. I'm not as downbeat on Dublin as some people seem to think. I've been trying to fly the flag here, which is a bit strange, obviously, for the last number of weeks. But I think even the results yesterday, like I heard Dessie Farrell's interview, obviously, with the lads earlier on. I don't think he's overly worried, Ger. I don't think he's that worried at all. Like, I mean, they could have won the game. They could have drawn the game. They should have drawn the game. You know, like, I mean, they had the game in the death, and they kicked some really bad wides in the last 4 or 5 minutes. The last 4 or 5 minutes of the first half, they should have kicked 3 scores. They should have went in ahead, actually, at half-time instead of going 2 points behind. Butchered a couple of goal chances. You know, isolated Mick Fitzsimons in with Jack McCarron. Johnny Cooper was all at sea at number 6. Didn't know where they were. They had no defensive structure in the sense of being able to support and being able to hold that central column. Johnny Small is a big loss there, but he will be back. And again, we're back to the old, what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, Conor O'Callaghan to come back and Paddy Small to come back. You know, so... And again, you take Dublin out of Croke Park. People have been saying it for a long, long time, and they just don't they love the confines of Croke Park. They're well used to it. It's like, you know, everyone knows home ground, etc., etc. But it just gives them comfort. Whereas when they're out and they're out of their bubble a little bit, they're out of their comfort zone, they don't particularly like it. And I just thought their performance yesterday was very, very flat, Jerry. Like, if you looked at Fenton, I haven't seen Fenton play as poor in a game as a long, long time. He had zero influence, real lack of energy. If you watch even some of the goals, the very first goal, Mick Fitzsimons actually stops. He kind of slows down. He kind of says, oh, someone else will get him, when actually if he really busted a gut to get back to the ball, he probably could have got a block on it. Howard did the same. The ball was there to be blocked, and fellas kind of going in. They weren't jumping at the feet of the Monaghan players. So I just thought it was a flat performance for them. Second half, they picked it up a bit. But
how are you flat, though, in your final league game, if that makes sense?
Yeah, well, look, it's a very valid question. They put, I think, a big effort into the last 2 games. And I don't know, Johnny, I don't know if it's expectation. I don't know if it's the fact of just travelling to the game, going to Monaghan, everything else. Like, I mean, as I said to you, I've been in some of those games where it just ends up being flat for whatever reason. I remember we played Cavan and Clonus one day in the championship, and it was a warm day, and you just couldn't get going. I don't know, it was the bus journey. You're just kind of fellas, just legs are heavy. Maybe they put in a big week of work this week. I'm not sure, but they looked flat. Monaghan love a challenge like that. Like, I mean, I heard a Dick Clerkin comment about, you know, we don't win All Irelands. Like, maybe that's a little bit kind of harsh, but I think it does delve into the psyche of the Monaghan maybe players and maybe some of the people around the Monaghan football, in the sense of they always want to go against, they always love to be the underdog going against the bigger fish. And Monaghan, when they have been made favourites in games, haven't really held that tag too well in the last number of years. And it's been something that's nearly come back to bite them a lot of times. They love to try to knock the person down off the pedestal. That's the big one for them. And more often than not, when they've been favourites for some things, maybe sometimes they have faltered a bit. So yesterday, you know, last week I was saying to you, Ger, my banker was Monaghan to go down. Well, there you go. And I did say, though, that's probably wrong. And the more I read about all the Houdini acts over the last number of years, I got more and more worried about that particular prediction, because, like, I mean, Jesus, fair play to them. It was an amazing stuff. They battled absolutely, and they showed They showed the energy and they showed the drive and they showed the intensity that Dublin didn't really have. They had it in spells. And when I say flat, Johnny, they weren't flat for the whole game, but there was just those moments, those critical moments where you're kind of going, wrong shot selection again. Fellas just not really breaking busting a gut to get back, and they haven't helped Shields out in goal at all. Like, Comerford is a big loss. Obviously, we all know Cluxton's a massive loss, but Comerford was like a mini-me version of him, and his kickouts were excellent. But Shields struggled really badly. They got cleaned out in midfield yesterday.
How was there any doubt about the penalty, by the way? I mean, that's not the most blatant. He was actually decapitated nearly on both sides.
Yeah. I didn't think there was any doubt about it, to be honest with you. Absolutely not. And what a build up to it.
The pass was sublime. Like
the pass, the goal was great, but that pass was even better, because if you watch it, Johnny Cooper was way off Moan. He was standing too far off him, and it was like a backdoor cut in basketball. Moan pretended to come towards the ball, and then he actually points. He's like in over his head. He points to him. He says, "Just put it in there for me," and he slipped a beautiful ball in over the top. But if you watch, Dublin very lackluster getting back. No one sees the danger from the far side. Howard is on the far side and he stays with his man instead of saying, the danger is inside here, I have to sprint in. So they're the little kind of moments I'm talking about. But fair play to Monaghan, an amazing result, and a result that would really bode well for them when coming into the championship.
Well, I was going to ask, can that catapult them to stop thinking we'll never win in All-Ireland? Like, internally, somebody in the dressing room must be going, well, Tyrone did it. And we're not far off where Tyrone were last year. And Tyrone managed last year to go all the way. And then a weird sequence of events led them there, but it got them there in the end. Like, Monaghan surely must view themselves as capable of beating any of the other teams in the country on the day.
Yeah, they have. They should be, absolutely. And if you think about it, they did it yesterday without McManus. So they did it without their talisman, who's been there, the totem pole for the last 4 or 5 years, the guy who they've majorly relied on. So, if they'd won yesterday and McManus had scored as usual 6 or 7 or 8 points, you'd kind of say, well, they're still very reliant. But yesterday they did it without him. So McCarthy was excellent. He had an absolute nightmare last week against Kildare because they put him into a very weird, I think, number 6 position, Mark and Ben McCormick. He got absolutely cleaned out. And it was a major cause of all the issues. Didn't know where they were defensively last week. And so they righted that. Bit of a strange situation last week, but anyway, they righted that this week and they got much more solid in the defence, much more tenacity. Like I referenced it last week, how kind of passive they were in the tackle. Lots of bodies around there, but no one really influencing the ball and getting hits on. Whereas yesterday, they were tackling ferociously yesterday. They were getting into the Dublin lads' faces. Every score Dublin lads got was hard earned. But could they easily do it? I tell you, who's kind of a fly in the ointment for them in a positive way is Sheedy's there on the sideline. Liam Sheedy's there. Now Sheedy's won All Irelands, and Sheedy knows what's needed to win All Irelands, and he's that type of a infectious character. Very, very nice fella. Very kind of personable guy. But by Jesus, when you want to have someone to up the ante and to get you going, there's no better man there. So, you've Bandy on one side, you've him on the other. So, I don't think they'll really, they won't fear for motivation. But the one thing for them is that slight lack of ambition. When they get into the kind of, when they're destined, they're kind of said, right, you guys are favourites for this, and you should go ahead. And the pressure is applied on them, and that's sometimes where they falter, and that's more obviously a big psychological thing rather than a football ability thing.
Nothing psychologically wrong with Tyrone, who went to Kerry and won in Killarney. I say this on the show all the time. Brent Pope had that line about never give a sucker an even break. Kerry needed to just drag Tyrone and go, no. Last year we annihilated you in the league. We're not going to annihilate you, but we're going to beat you, and we might end up relegating you, because they didn't know what was going to happen with the other results. Never give a sucker an even break. And Kerry are like, oh yeah, Tyrone, what could possibly go wrong? We're allowing you to thrive and get a victory today and get some confidence. No, this is definitely not going to come back and bite us in the hole, is it?
Yeah, it was a bit of a strange one for me, in the sense of that's exactly it felt to me that they did, right? I was a bit worried last week, not worried, but I was kind of thinking to myself, how is O'Connor going to face this game? Is he going to go full throttle? Is he going to have the players? And no matter, I still, people would say, oh, well, he had a strong team out, which he did have a strong team out, but it doesn't make a difference if you have a strong team out. If in that build-up to that game, things are slightly off, or if the players sense that, you know what, the dial has been dropped down a little bit, and the importance and the enormity of this game isn't all that great, well, then that filters through the players, and no matter what you think, it gets into the player's head. And that level of intensity just dropped slightly, and I definitely thought it did drop. I thought Tyrone were kind of nearly able to do it. It was a great game, but I thought Tyrone, you know, were able to dictate a little bit, which you wouldn't expect, obviously, where the game was played, and just. Yeah, they gave the game, as you say, they gave them an even break. Now, on the flip side, I've been very critical of Tyrone in the last number of weeks. I just thought they'd been all at sea. But yesterday was the first time they had a really, really solid. They seemed to have their best players in their best positions yesterday, and then they seem to have other guys who have been a little bit off, really coming back. And playing well. The strength and depth is called. Like McShane hasn't really set the world alight at full forward, but then they bring in the likes of Richie Donnelly or even Matty Donnelly, and the two of them are just able to say, well, listen, if you're not doing it, we'll come in and we'll do it. They've an unbelievable, like, you know, it's funny when you start to see them all coming back, you're looking at the bench and you're going, wow. And Canavan has been unbelievable, and McCurry has been unbelievable, and Hart has been unbelievable. So, you know, they're not gone away as absolutely not a chance, have they? And yesterday is, you know, you saw the scenes afterwards. They were out signing autographs for ages. You could see that obviously the management team were delighted. That's a massive one for them, Jerry. So, you know, we spoke a couple of weeks about those last two league games, how important they are for the run into the training into the championship. And that's a big upward trajectory now for Tyrone over the last couple of weeks.
Okay, you've picked your 5 most informed players from the 2022 league. Who's on your list?
Well, there's only 4 Meath lads on it. And I stuck a Kildare lad in it then for the crack. No. Well, you know what? It's one of these, of course. Tommy hits me with this, you know, and I'm like, Tommy, I would like to sleep tonight, you know, because the name's rattling around in my head, and I'm thinking, no, Jesus, I'm going back. And then I'm thinking, do I have to get very scientific about this? Because, of course, I heard you, Johnny, the abuse you were getting. There's no doubt I'll get abuse for this, because then you say, Jesus, how could you leave out this fella? How could you leave out that fella? So I'm going to go, Ger, with, I think, the people who have remained consistently important for their teams over the course of the league. You know, not just one-hit wonders or one-game wonders. So, and of course, look, I mean, it's predominantly going to be Division 1, of course, with some honorary mentions for the rest of the guys. But I think, you know, if you look at it, if you start about Tyrone, I think McCurry has been unbelievable. He's been practically, you know, you haven't been able to defend against him. You know, he's been scoring for fun. He's been a guy up front where they've struggled. Now, Canavan has been good.
Can I just briefly on McCurry, right? Because we when Bernard Brogan had his book out, there was a bit where Brogan was coming off the bench and he kept getting blocked down. In the Kildare game, McCurry got blocked down for a goal chance, and I was like, wow, that's an amazing that's brilliant. 3 minutes later, same chance, back in the net, and you're like, oh my God, this guy. Like, it did strike me that sometimes forwards need another chance to get their eye in, and that one of the things that Dublin did with Brogan actually at the end was not give him that opportunity to get his eye back in, and they kind of wasted the last couple of years. And you can't say that because they won the 6 in a row, so it doesn't really matter. But it just did strike me that McCurry's now at a stage of his career where he's getting the love and support, and he's being backed in everything he does. So even if somebody has his measure for a few minutes in a game, the management aren't going, right, Hook, you're off. They're like, yeah, you're our boy. You go and fix that, because we know you're going to fix it.
Absolutely. And by the way, the flip side of that, of course, is as a player and as a forward, that's an unbelievable thing to know. So you're not looking over your shoulder when you make a mess of something. You're not thinking, geez, I didn't win that ball, or I got blocked down, or my man got out in front of me. You're not having to worry about that. You're safe and you're confident in the view that actually, you know what, that one's not going to matter. And as a defender, well, the horrible thing is even if you win 1 or 2 balls off him, you know, I'm still under pressure. He's not going to get the shepherd's hook. He's probably going to, if he gets another ball, he's going to make a fool out of me. Like, if you look at that goal, time slows down with him. You know, they say about the best forwards, obviously, that you nearly, you know, instead of going +4, +6 on the old fast forward, it goes the other way. Fellas, like the Gooch, all these guys were able to just get the ball, the balance they have, and the ability then to see what's available, whether it's a pass, whether it's a step inside. Like, I mean, that goal against Kildare is a perfect example of it. So he's just been, he's been excellent. He's been really, really good. And where he was that fringe player who if it didn't happen for him after 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, you could see he was under pressure and he was getting hooked all the time, which must have killed his confidence really, really hard on a forward. He has, you know, he's stood up and he's shown the country his ability, and fair play to him. He's vital for them.
Okay.
I think Clifford, look, you can't look past Clifford with Kerry, Ger. You know, Paddy Clifford has been very good, but obviously David Clifford has just been, again, he's taking the mantle on his shoulders. He's saying, listen, give me the ball. I don't care whether you give me the ball with 2 defenders on me, 3 defenders on me. I'll sell dummies. I'll physically dominate you. I'll bring players into the game. I'll do what's needed. And again, it's going to be a very, very exciting summer watching him. You know, I think Tyg Morley has been really good. Like, I know Johnny was saying there, I think Kerry, okay, take away yesterday. Defensively, I think they've really improved actually this year. I think they've been excellent. And they've been quite mean. So they've got themselves into a good place, I think, from a defensive point of view. Morley has been kind of resurrected in that sense at 6. It was a real issue for them. They were struggling at 6, and they found him there now, and he has settled in, and he's starting to dominate games. But I think he's just more comfortable because they have an extra man behind him, and it's tighter for him. O'Connor in midfield has been very, very good for him, but the standout man is Clifford, and has been. I think Paddy McBurty has been really good for Donegal. You know, that's a massive win for them yesterday. They probably could have won it by more. I don't know how kind of, you know, into it Armagh were. They kind of fielded a weakened side. McGeeney will be happy, and he'll be happy with the way, obviously, they came back at Donegal and nearly could have levelled it or even stole the game. But Donegal will be delighted with, like, I mean, a couple of weeks ago they were playing absolutely turgid stuff, you know, very slow, very laboured, no ingenuity at all, just completely devoid of ideas going across the pitch. And McBurdy was the only man, even during all of that, who actually was saying, give me the ball, I'll stick it over the bar. You know, like, I mean, he rattled, I think, 1-7 or 1-8 against Dublin. I think he got 5 or 6 or 7 yesterday. You know, he's just been absolutely brilliant. It's great to see him back. A fella who obviously suffered a really, really bad injury. And all of a sudden, Donegal are kind of going, okay, you know, they're not gone away at all. So Ulster, as usual, will just be an absolute nightmare to come out of. And whoever comes out of it will have obviously earned their spurs, you know.
McCurry, Clifford, McBurty, who are the final 2?
I think you know, when you look at Mayo, obviously.
How long did it take you to fall asleep last night?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm tired. I got 1 hour sleep.
You can see from the lines of my face, Johnny. It's been quite an eventful evening. O'Donoghue for Mayo has been really good. I thought after the All-Ireland final last year, he could go one of 2 ways. After missing the penalty, and a lot of people probably would have said, you know, that was the turning point. He could have just, boom, gone away, lack of confidence as a forward, a fella who probably would have, you know, maybe had a hard winter. But he went the other way, and which is brilliant for him. Young guy, you know, he took it on. He obviously had good people around him to say, listen, don't worry about it. You know, these things happen. Pick your head up and go again. And he's been absolutely fantastic for them this year. He's been a guy that isn't just taking on scores. He's been winning his own ball, winning dirty ball, getting hit, you know, getting up, taking his own frees. And when they've struggled, obviously, without having Cillian O'Connor and other guys up front at times, he has really done it for them. So he's been excellent. I think Jordan Flynn has been really good for them as well. He scored 1-2 yesterday from midfield. And he's a guy that I've been watching. You know, Ruan sometimes gets whipped off. He does a lot of hard work, but Flynn does just as much. And another fella who kind of came out of you know, the shadows, I suppose, over the last number of years. So he's been really good. Just on Armagh, I think obviously Ronan Neal has been really good. They've been excellent. I think Armagh are building nicely. So McGeeney is getting them going well. As I said, I don't think he'd be too worried about yesterday. They'll be primed for Donegal in a couple of weeks. And then I think Dublin need a mention. There hasn't been many who've been really, really consistent for them. But I think Costello has been one that has stood up. Now, there was 1 or 2 incidents yesterday where I thought balls came into him they were 50-50 balls that you have to go for, and he kind of, for me, he didn't go full-blooded for them, but that's always a question mark over him. But at the same time, when he got the ball in his hand, he was absolutely dangerous, and he has been dangerous in all the other games he's played. So he has been a big addition to them. And when they get the rest of the players back, they probably need him firing, and obviously Dean Rock firing on all cylinders as well to complement O'Callaghan and Kenny. There's a couple of lads there. I think Ryan Houlihan has been brilliant for Kildare, the cornerback. I think he was away for a couple of years and he was doing some duty with the Army, but he has been an absolutely brilliant addition to that full back line. A guy who's very sticky, well able to go forward, and he's been brilliant. I can't say, go through Sam Mulroy, I think for Louth has been brilliant. They got promotion, really, really brilliant under Mickey Hart. They struggled obviously at the start of the league. I think they lost one or two or drew a couple of games at the start. It didn't look very good for them. They got an absolute cleaning, I think, from Leash, let in a lot of goals, and then they just have seemed to got their defensive structure right. And to be fair, they won, I think, 4 or 5 on the bounce, so they've got promoted now. And Mulroy has been brilliant, kicking unbelievable scores. And I can't keep going without obviously mentioning the Meath man, and that man is Harry Hogan, our goalkeeper. And it's been a problem area for Meath over the last number of years. And in this lad, I think they have a real find. He's not only a very, very good goalkeeper, at shot stopping and organisation and everything else coming out with the ball, but he's brilliant with his restarts, his kickouts. He's excellent off the deck for shooting for 50s or whatever it is, frees. And he's a good lad, and I think he's going to be a massive find for them for this year.
All right, go on.
Yeah, and just 2 more, Jerry. You can't probably talk about kind of the talk of the league without mentioning that steward last week in Croke Park, who undoubtedly was the extra man for Dublin last week, and pity they couldn't bring him to Monaghan this week. I don't know if you saw him. I think the lads had a bit of footage on him, but this fella is he should be an honorary member now of the Dublin squad. I think he should be brought in, but only to be tipped by the Mayor Ishka yesterday from Monaghan, who got a bit of slagging from the Dublin fans on the up on their patch yesterday, and decided to give them the bird as he was running back to the sideline. So you need to check that footage out.
It's all good, clean fun until someone loses an eye. Good stuff, Anthony. Thanks a million for joining us. Cheers.
All right, lads, no water.
Anthony Moyles giving us some thoughts on the weekend's GAA action. You can leave a comment on the YouTube stream. We'll get to it in a couple of minutes' time. OTB AM is brought to you live each morning by Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. Here's what we got on OTB Sports Radio, which is on your radio dial wherever you listen to us. You can get it on the sports app. You can get it at otbsports.com. Luke Keeney is OTB Gold State of the Union at 3 o'clock. Splunk Sport at 4. And OTB Gold is James McLean in studio talking with Nathan, and the show is obviously live tonight. Up next, Alan Quinlan joins us to look back on the opening weekend of the TikTok Women's Six Nations.
OTB AM on OTB Sports Radio, Ireland's first and only sports radio station.
The Football Pod on OTB Sports.
The GA were giving out about fellas looking to go to Australia, and McShane, your Mullins, your Cliffords, and they're saying, why do these fellas want to go away? And then back here, they won't even give him 50-cent petrol money.
Nail on the head, Jimmy.
They just do not respect the players enough. We're judging them at the highest level. They're up there on a pedestal. They're giving their lives, and then we're just taking it from them from a different angle. It's just not fair.
Get the hop on everyone else and hear the Football Pod first on the OTB Sports app every Tuesday.
FBD Insurance knows this sound spells trouble for van drivers. But if you're an existing FBD customer, you'll get 15% off a new van insurance policy. It's how we're keeping you and your van on the road. Visit fbd.ie or contact your local branch. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do.
Terms and conditions apply. 15% discount available on new commercial motor policies only when an existing FBD farm, business, car or home policy is in place. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Commercial motor insurance is underwritten by FBD Insurance PLC.
OTB AM
with Gillette. Get into your flow with the new Gillette Labs razor with exfoliating bar.
Right, it is 17 minutes past 9. OTB AM is brought to you live each morning by Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. Alan Quinlan is not with us just yet. We'll get to him in a second. He's going to talk to us about the weekend where Ireland were beaten by Wales 29-17. And it was, I don't know, the break-even performance, I think, is what the rugby journalists who follow the team are saying. Obviously, it's disappointing to lose to Wales, who they beat last year. But the reward for that encouraging 70 minutes is a trip to France to play the French, who are a bit better than Wales. You'd be worried.
Yeah. Sounded like there were a lot of positives from him, to be fair. I don't. Did you read the Sunday Times yesterday? I'm always thinking of you when these rugby chats come up and the dangers of the game and so forth. Did you read David Walsh's piece?
No, was it with Ben Walsh?
No, it's with like a neurosurgeon type woman in America.
Right.
It looks like in these days of basically newspapers trying to save money in every way possible. It looks like he actually travelled over and he met her in the States, and she's done a lot of research on... I'm sorry now, I'm a bit hazy in the details, but I did read the piece. She's done a lot of research on NFL players who've died in terms of the brain injuries that they've sustained from contact. And you got to read this piece, basically. It's not good. It's not good.
I'll take it out. All right, Alan Quinlan is with us, host of the Red 78 podcast. Alan, good morning to you. How are you?
Morning, lads. How are you?
So we put Irish women's rugby in the amber a little bit earlier on. There was a record crowd and they played well for 70 minutes, but surely we can't be giving any moral victories to the team just yet. Or maybe you can, because it's a new broom and it's a new team and it's actually going to take them quite a while to get to the stage where we should be expecting them to win. What's the right way here?
Somewhere in between. I don't think they'll want any moral victories. I think a lot of where we were positioned after the game, a lot of the girls were over there talking to their parents and friends and family at the far side of the field, and they were devastated. I was kind of taken back about how disappointed they were. I'm sure they were very excited going into the game, new era. There was a lot of optimism, Ger, about the team. And, Joe was even asking us before the game about, Ireland beat this team and 45-0 last year. Do you expect the same to happen? Do you think we're way ahead? And it's very hard to judge this because you just don't know where the teams are at the moment. A lot of them it's hard to analyse them and see where they're actually at. The big difference, and I think a lot of people realise this now, is that Wales had 12 full-time players and another 12 or 13 who were part-time, given part-time contracts. So if they got to 25 people training pretty regularly as their job since January, whereas the Ireland girls were probably in camp three or four times in the last number of weeks for 2-3 days at a time. So it's hard to kind of get up to that same level of speed. And it's not a level playing field, the Six Nations. France and England are miles ahead with regard conditioning, strength, player numbers, all that kind of stuff. So we have to be patient here, Joe. We can't expect this to happen overnight. There's a lot of changes in the report, and they've been agreed by the IRFU, and a lot more support to the women's game. So that's good, but it will take a little bit of time. I tell you, I was really encouraged by the way they played, the type of game, the execution, the skills. I was surprisingly a really good game from both sides, and unfortunately, they just lacked a bit of power. They lacked a little bit of physicality, and that kind of told in the end because they got really tired. But some brilliant handling, execution, passes, all that kind of stuff. What are their issues? Of course, discipline, 15 penalties, possession, 38% possession. Very difficult to win a game with those kind of stats. So they were under a lot of pressure, and I think they deserve a lot of credit for the way they played and the ambition they showed. But sometimes you get beaten by a better team and a more powerful team. And we've been speaking about it with the men over the last number of years when they played England. Sometimes when they came up short in the physicality, Wales had a big impact off the bench, and they were very, very physical, and that told in the end.
Okay. We'll obviously get an opportunity to preview the France game closer to the time, and we'll have our Vodafone Six Nations show during the week as well to get into a bit more details about it. I want to just talk a little bit about the URC games and the situation Connacht find themselves in. it had been 3 weeks since Connacht's last game, which was a bit of a kicking from Edinburgh, and then they have a man sent off really early against Leinster, and they get a bit of a kicking again. So it's back-to-back massive disappointments for them, and it's getting squeaky bum time towards the end of the season. Unfortunately, it looks like it could be a lost year for them.
It's a very difficult situation now for them, Ger. I think they've lost crucial games and particularly the Edinburgh one and this Leinster one. That'll kind of hurt and sting the most, I think. Let's be honest here. Leinster are missing a huge number of players. They're internationals. The sending off pretty significant, I think. And to be fair to Connacht on Saturday night, they showed incredible fight and guts, and to go ahead when Tiernan O'Halloran scores a try, but the second half, Leinster then just showed their class and execution and their passing skills and tore Connacht apart. The big problem for Connacht is they're 10th in the table. They've lost 7 games in the league, and they go away to Benetton next weekend. They'll have their internationals back. It's much more difficult when they're fully stacked with their internationals, and they're a tough side to play against, particularly over there, Benetton. And then Connacht go to South Africa and play the Lions and the Sharks. So we've seen how difficult it is for teams to go to South Africa and get results. So it's a very difficult situation. And then the last game, they have 4 games to try and get themselves up the table. They're on 28 points, sitting in 10th. So not alone is there a major concern that they won't get into the playoffs here, which are the top 8. They won't be in Europe next year unless they get some results out of there. I think they've at least to win three games there, possibly win the 4 of them to get there. Now, the type of game they play and the way Connacht are so ambitious with the ball, they could go to South Africa and get 2 results. Who knows? It's very, very difficult there. They play the Lions in Johannesburg, and the Sharks in Durban. So it's a tough situation for them. And I think the sending off of Tom Daly the other night after 2 minutes, against a side like Leinster,
eventually
that is really, really difficult.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, eventually told. So it is a situation where it's they could end up with nothing and not be in the playoffs or be in Europe next year.
Okay. The run of form that Ulster were on at the moment was sensational, and it looked like they'd scored a last minute try to beat the Stormers, and then it got chalked off. Right decision, wrong decision. Dan McCarron wasn't happy either way. What did you make of this?
Wrong decision. I think Ulster, probably the middle part of the second half, you think the Stormers are in control here. They looked like they were going to win the game and see it out and kick on, but Ulster's response was phenomenal, and they kept playing right to the end, and they really, really troubled the Stormers and got right back into the game. And Callum Reid, with 2 minutes to go, looks like he scores a try right on the line. Ulster run back. That's the game. You think they've won it. Brilliant result away from home in South Africa. TMO goes and calls him for a look, and the referee, Gianluca Necci, the Italian referee. And the problem here, and I was kind of flabbergasted by this, Jerry, is that the TMO is a South African. And if you're sending teams of referees down there, send another one, a TMO, because as Callum Reid is touching the ball down, the Stormers player dives in to try and prevent a try, dislodges the ball slightly out of Callum Reid's hands. It goes backwards. His body comes down on the ball, and I think it's a try. Dan McFarland was fuming after the match. So the TMO calls the referee. They have a conversation about it and a debate, and I still think, watching it over and over again, that it's a try. And then Alan O'Connor, who probably was pushing his luck a little bit the way he was debating with the referee, the Ulster captain, was debating the point that he then awarded a try to the Stormers for Callum Reid knocking it on when he clearly didn't. The ball went backwards. So I think at worst Ulster should have had the 5 metre scrum. In turn, he awarded the Stormers a 5 metre scrum. They were able to clear their lines and win the game. So I think they were stolen at the end, and I think it was a wrong decision. And I think the TMO and the referee got it terribly wrong. They gave about 2 minutes debating this decision. They made a decision to give Stormers a scrum. Then they went back watching the footage again. The ball is dislodged from Callum Reid's hands. It goes backwards. His body, and remember, from your hips up, any part of your body that touches the ball over the try line, it's try given. So they got that wrong, and I think Dan McFarland had every right to be really frustrated and angry with that decision. And if it comes down to a situation where they miss out on the top 2, which will give them home quarter and possibly home semi if they win that, it'll be very, very significant, because I think they should have won that game and could have won that game. Now they play the Bulls next Saturday, which is probably a different proposition as regards the physicality, the altitude, and all that stuff. So it'll be, that was a game they should have won.
All right, we'll leave it there for today. Quinny, good stuff. Thanks a million. Cheers.
Cheers.
Alan Quinlan giving us his thoughts there. You can hear more on his thoughts on Munster on the Red 78 podcast. It's our weekly Munster podcast, brought to you from the Rugby channel. OTB AM is live each morning, brought to you by Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day.
I just wanted to, sorry, I did David Walsh a disservice there when I kind of didn't really address, because he wrote a piece in Sunday Times yesterday. I think as a sports fan you really do have to read, and just this is a start. We meet at 8:45 a.m. on East Newton Street in Boston. The temperature is getting up towards 0. Gina has come from nearby building to take me to the office of Dr. Anne McKee at Boston University School of Medicine. We enter through what seems a side door, walk through some quiet corridors, and soon I'm sitting in the office of the woman who has done more than anyone to show how collision sports damage brains. You really have to. She's in her late 60s now. It's an unbelievable piece, and you just have to read it and couch all your enjoyment of sport by realising that there is stuff that we should be aware of.
Yeah, there's a toll to pay for our entertainment that isn't paid by us but paid by the participants.
The reaction to the sending off and the James Ryan incident, in terms of all the hullabaloo about should that have been a red card, utterly sickened me, because I'm only a half arse rugby fan, but what James Ryan has gone through in terms of HIAs would really, really, really worry me, and I don't know the man, and rugby worry me about rugby going forward, and who cares about a stupid red card.
Big celebrations in Monaghan.
Oh.
Imagine how crazy it would be if they did actually win All Ireland.
I mean, Jack McCarron, he's
which one's the inter-county footballer? I can't tell from their physiques.
Now hang on. Shane he's from a famous family. His sister's very, very promising singer. Shane is trying to wrestle back the limelight from his sister, and look at this. Look at him. I mean, not a pick at him. Sometimes you're in a photo and you're sucking it all in. He doesn't even need to do that. Who is the inter-county footballer there, Ger?
Yeah, well, it's. I mean, certainly he's wearing an inter-county jersey with a number on it. It's unusual. It's a flex move.
It should be pointed out, I think you've said this to me, he's a very good athlete himself.
Oh, by far the best athlete in Team OTB.
Yeah, it's low bar, but
that was Jack McCarron and Shane Hannon celebrating on the field yesterday.
Isn't it great though? Like, I mean,
yeah, it is. It's class.
Maybe Monaghan will never win All Ireland. Offaly won't win All Ireland, but like, you can see what it meant.
They did.
Sorry, they're not going to win All Ireland anytime soon. You can see what it meant to the Offaly players yesterday losing to Cork, and the scenes, and as the lads referenced, all the kids running out onto the pitch to get autographs, and the scenes in Clonus yesterday.
Yes, when games aren't all in Croke Park all the time.
Exactly. Go to the provinces. Go to these places that needs
Festival of Football. No one's going to show up to these games. They'll all be dead rubbers. Right. Tomorrow morning we're going to hear from the Irish Rugby camp. There's build up to Ireland, Lithuania and much more as well. Right now we're bringing you analysis to Ireland's draw with Belgium on Sunday's OTB with John Duggan, Gavin Cooney and Simon Cox. Enjoy.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through to 7, sitting in for Joe Malloy. We're going to reflect now on Ireland, Belgium and look ahead to the Lithuania game on Tuesday. Gavin Cooney of this 42 is in studio. How are you, Gavin?
Hey, John. All good.
Kind of enjoyed that montage, actually. A sunny montage. And Simon Cox, the former Republic of Ireland striker, is on the line. Simon, how are you?
I'm good, John. How are you?
Yeah, good, Simon. And you can listen on News Talk, folks. You can watch us on the digital and social channels for Periscope and Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook, and on the OTB Sports app. We're going to talk about Grand EO's connections between the public and Stephen Kenny and all that kind of thing. But Simon, before we get to all this beautiful celebration of the Irish team at the moment. Just what did you make of it last night?
Yeah, well, I actually had a game myself, so I couldn't watch it. I was on the bus on the way back, so I caught up with the game this morning. But listen, it was fantastic. The lads put in a great shift. Centenary game, you know, all of the wonderfulness about the whole game. But it was great to see the Aviva fall and the lads put in a shift and get a decent result.
Who impressed you?
Josh Cullen's been a great part of the 7 games unbeaten at the minute. I think he's been a standout for me. Obviously, Ogbene with his goal last night and his pace and power and his love of the game, I think is someone you can't undeniably be drawn to. But I think it's more Josh Cullen's been the sort of driving force towards the way that this Irish team play and the way that they're so connected to each other, which is great to see.
You're 25 years of age. Didn't really go from a West Ham, did it, Josh Cullen? He went to Charlton and moving to Anderlecht and working with Vincent Kompany, who's got such a pedigree, seems to have accelerated his progression.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can see he's taken that on his shoulders. I mean, he's only small, but he's obviously big in stature in terms of the way that he plays, which is great. And like you said, learning from somebody like Vincent Kompany, who's been fortunate enough to play with the Fernandinhos of the world in his position, so he can always pass on that knowledge. And Josh has obviously come into the Irish setup where he's, like you said, it didn't work for him at West Ham, but he did play a few games in the Cup and stuff like that, but he just never made it through to the first team in the Premier League. I mean, that's probably down to the likes of the Declan Rices and the Mark Nobles coming through. So he took it upon himself to seek pastures new, and he's reaping the rewards right now.
You were there yesterday, Gavin, and when you go to a game, you just see things that people on the TV or watching on the TV can't see, and you see strange things. You see 4 to 5 strange things. What were the things on the periphery that you saw?
Well, my dear colleague David Sneyd saw someone with a life-size cardboard cutout of Vladimir Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, in the crowd. So that was one of the stranger things I think that he noticed. The most obvious thing to take away from the game, having been at it, is the atmosphere was really, really good. And it's strange enough, friendly. Like, it's not the easiest sell in the world. Okay, it's Belgium, but it's their second team. There's no qualifiers this year. It could be billed as preparation for the Nations League, but that's all such mired in utterly, ultimately unimportant uncertainty, but still nonetheless. So it's a bit kind of formless and a bit shapeless. Like, what does this game really mean? And it did feel important in and of itself. And I think that's down to a very obvious connection now between the crowd, the manager, and the players. It's very much there, and the atmosphere was really good throughout. It was okay. Fans were pretty slow to take their seats ahead of the game, but once they were there, they were loud. Belgium scored that great goal from Batshuayi. Then they made the ball disappear. They hogged the ball for 15-20 minutes, and the crowd did lull at that point. And then what did actually help us, I think, was when the television match director beamed Thierry Henry's face up around the stadium on the big screen, and he left it there longer than you usually do on those managerial or coaching close-ups to allow everyone join in the ritual booing.
The villain.
Absolutely, he was lustily booed for a good minute, I'd say, and then all of a sudden that sparked the crowd into life, and then John Egan pressed high, made a tackle, and then a minute later Ireland had scored. And it wasn't, if you go to Ireland games, it can be quiet. The crowd will still get up for the big games. I reminded in 2019, that last qualifier at home to Denmark, of course, because it's always against Denmark. It was really loud, really good atmosphere. But it hadn't been that way throughout that year, really, apart from the tennis ball protest. Whereas
every Kenny game now, you feel there's.
I think so, and there's if players give the ball away, if there's mistakes made, there's not as many groans in the crowd. I noticed that everyone's just given a little bit more leeway, and then it's just the crowd just wants an excuse to go off. I mean, it's really just, it's not dormant, it's bubbling under the surface, and they just really want to make noise as often as they can, and that's down partly to the way the team play, and Chidozie Ogbene and co definitely gave them reason to make noise.
When you were playing, Simon, for the Republic of Ireland, did you feel a fluctuation in the sense you got from the crowd? Was it always consistently good? What was your experience?
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, it's a bit different because for me, obviously, I came into it a little bit late, and we were obviously in the Euro 2012 campaign already, heading into the last couple of games. So we always had that affiliation with the crowd. Yeah, we would have loved, full capacity at every home game, but it wasn't to be. But like Gavin said, there seems to be a real connection between the players and the fans right now. And I think a lot of credit has to go down to, one, the manager and the players, but two, the crowd actually coming and enjoying the football that's being played. And I think, especially with Stephen Kenny getting a new contract, I think that's something that can steamroll for a little bit further along the line.
53106 if you want to get in touch. Hey guys, any coincidence now that two QPR players, Dunn and Hendrick, and a QPR assistant coach and John Eustace, that the Ireland team under Stephen Kenny has never been better? Great show as always, says Eamon, and Two Mile House might be a QPR fan. Kieran and Greystones was at the Ireland match yesterday. Thought McLean looked really sharp and solid. No sign of ageing. And yeah, that's what we have so far. But if you were also at the game yesterday, you can text us 53106. Simon Ogbene's development, as Stephen Kenny was pointing out, he plays a little bit more defensively for Rotherham, but getting regular game time, getting those early goals, 3 and 6 now for the Republic of Ireland. What type of player do you think he is? What's his best position? How do you feel he's progressing at the moment?
I definitely see him as a forward person, a forward player. I spoke to a few people at Rotherham about him, and I think the one thing that they always said to me about him was that talent, pace, power, got it in abundance, but just lacks that little bit of belief. And then as soon as he puts on the Irish jersey, all of a sudden he gets that belief, and like you said, 3 and 6, that should give you the most belief in the world. So listen, I think Stephen Kenny's been really clever in the way that he's pushed him further forward, because if you played him in that right wing back position, you've also got Matt Doherty, you've got Seamus Coleman who can play there as well. So he's actually solved the problem without it actually being a problem, which is I guess clever management in a sense.
Did you watch him off the ball, Ogbene?
I wouldn't profess to say that I watched him particularly closely off the ball, but I can't. I mean, Stephen Kenny always talks about with this kind of sense of bafflement that rather than playing at right wing back, he's very much a forward in his eyes. His off the ball work, I mean, just his pace alone is enough to worry teams, and that Ireland have kind of lacked pace in the last couple of years. That was the main case for including Aaron Connolly. Connolly's well out of favour now, but one of the main reasons Kenny placed so much trust in him early on in his tenure was Connolly had pace, and we saw that pace was used to stretch Portugal in that game against Faro that Ireland came so close to winning. But Ogbene's development, he's even faster than Connolly. So I mean, he's helped sideline Connolly since, and he's been a revelation. And Simon talks about needing confidence. Stephen Kenny is a good manager. It seems to build that confidence, and Keith Andrews as well. Ogbene spoke in the week of coming in and saying he still gets a little bit nervous. I'm a League One player. These are Premier League players and, Championship players and, a couple of Champions League players in there as well. But Kenny said that we ask him to raise his performance above his club performance. And that's what he's been doing. Like, he's been a revelation. I think even the management team are a bit surprised at just the extent to which he has excelled now. Like, three goals in 6 games is undroppable on current form, and is, we talk about connections between the crowd and players. He's a firm favourite among the
you don't really try that unless you feel in a good place. That overhead that he deflected into the net for the first, and then Alan Brown, to be fair, knows where the eye for goal is, Simon, and he really took that second goal well, because it was a lot of confidence in the way he attacked the header.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something he's been renowned for at club level with Preston. So not something that to be sniffed at. He's got that sort of late run into the box, and he attacked the ball well. This is a great header, great ball in, but you have to be on the end of it and you have to be able to stick it in the net. So fair play to him. He's, it's never nice being coming off the bench for sort of 15, 20 minutes or so, and sort of, you might not be up to speed, but he seemed to be up to speed pretty quickly, and like I say, great header.
Defensively, we gave the ball away for the first. Like, Batshuayi had the ball in the back of the net before anybody almost twigged it that he could try. And then the second goal was disappointing, straight from a corner. came off Coleman, but it was a free header for their attackers. So yeah, I just forgot his name for a momentarily. Simon, it's still. I think there was the points made in the papers that we were too much for too long, and you would have played in teams maybe that were there's too much blood and thunder, and now we're trying to bring a bit of silk into the play, but it's probably got to be a mixture for us to be as effective as we can against technically superior teams.
Yeah, I think at the minute we've got a philosophy of the way that we want to play, which is great, because I think sometimes labelled at Ireland teams of, we just sort of go gung-ho and whatever happens, happens. Whereas now we look like we're trying to play out from the back, and with Ogbene up front, with the pace that we've got, we've always got that threat in behind, which is great. But at least we've got players who are comfortable taking the ball. Shane and John Egan and Seamus at the back look really comfortable. As I mentioned earlier, Cullen in the midfield. So it's a really good progress from the manager that the players have shown under him. Undoubtedly going to be disappointed with the goals. I think Seamus can show Batchway down the line a little bit more. He sort of lets him come inside a little bit too easy for me. And then the second goal is a free header, which, when you've got Big Shane and John Egan at the back, you'd like to think we shouldn't be giving 3 headers away. So, 2 disappointing goals, but ultimately great desire and character to come back against arguably the best team in the world.
Is it more attractive football than you've seen from Ireland teams, even the ones you're involved in, Simon?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's more the fact that there's that style of play. It's not down to one person possibly either scoring the goals or creating the chances. It's more a teamwork right now that you see from the players. It's a more patient build-up. It's there's more than one way to skin a cat, as the saying is. So ultimately, we've got players who are comfortable. We progress up the pitch mostly through possession instead of kicking the ball along and chasing after it. And like I say, with the pace we've got at the minute up top, it's good for people to watch.
That pace up top is the critical thing, I think. I mean, there has been, Ireland have adapted how they've played under Kenny from, compared last year, 2021 to 2020. Okay, insert caveats around players unavailable, etc. But there has been a change in the style of play. They play fewer passes per game. They're playing more longer passes, which isn't, that's not to say it's a hoofball, but I mean, there's balls into the channel that Ogbene can chase. The second goal came from a ball over the top that Matt Doherty pounced really quickly on a second ball. And there's just a slight bit more directness in Ireland's play now. I mean, I won't get too bogged down in stats, but Ireland play 1 fewer pass per possession. Played 1 fewer pass per possession last year than 2020. So basically, every time they had the ball, it worked out that they'd play, I think it was 5 passes on average last year, where it was 6, which sounds like a small thing in and of itself, but add that up each possession over an entire year, you become aware that the team is now more direct. And you saw that in the second goal. And how the team plays has been overhauled, like undeniably different style at play. But there has been subtle tweaks and subtle differences and subtle compromises that has made Ireland a more efficient team, and much more efficient team, because they're conceding fewer goals this year. Or we'll take since the Luxembourg game a year ago, they're now conceding fewer goals and they're scoring more, so it's far more efficient. Although the video review of certainly that second goal in the Ireland camp today shouldn't be too kind, because that was a shocker.
It was a shocker.
Yeah.
And you say that Ireland won the XG.
Ireland won the XG.
All you XG people.
I mean, if you're out there listening, folks, all 3 of you. What was it? 1.21 to 0.41, I think. See, Belgium only had 2 shots on target and they scored both, And one other element of the Irish performance which I really liked was the pressing was good. Obviously it lifted the crowd and it began the move from which we scored the first goal. Ireland scored the first goal by John Egan winning the ball. You saw even Seamus Coleman pushing up to win a ball early in the second half that ended up with Denier clearing it off the line. Ireland should have scored that. That was a
big chance. It was
a bit of a sitter. And because, Belgium made the ball disappear after they scored the first goal and we were chasing shadows. But Ireland did keep on chasing shadows and they kept them honest and they kept pressing high. And they at least kept Belgium knocking the ball about in fairly unthreatening areas. So I know that Belgium made their superior quality and experience tell in that moment, and it was a bit dispiriting, and it did kind of lull the crowd a little bit. But I think when Ireland look back at it, they'll be pleased that they didn't sit off and invite Belgium onto them. Now look, caveat, it's a friendly, they're not going to break their necks, Belgium pushing forward either. But I think I like that element of the performance as well.
John Egan, Kenny has spoken about before, Simon, as a player who could play Champions League football, and once again getting a consistent run in the Sheffield United team. They're around the playoff spots in the Championship. He did well yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I probably don't agree that he's ready yet for the Champions League, but I think he's definitely a Premier League player. Forget Everton's position in the league. I think if he went to an Everton, I think it would be a really good move. Possibly like a Newcastle, if they're going on the up, would be a really good move for him. Some team where he could actually go and thrive and be still that defender where he likes throwing his body in the way and still able to play out. So yeah, I mean, I definitely see him as a Premier League player. Not to say he can't play in the Champions League, but I think he's still got a little bit to go before he plays at that level.
Would you like to see Will Keane play on Tuesday, Simon?
Yeah, I think he's definitely got something to give. He'll be chomping at the bit to get some minutes under his belt and show what he can do. And it's another friendly, so why not throw him in and see what he can do? Ultimately, you'll never know what he can do if you don't give him the chance. So the 5 minutes and 10 minutes at the end of games, you're not really going to see the best of him. So you might as well give him a chance.
The breaking down of weaker teams is something that I think we need to get probably better at. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, that's been our problem.
Azerbaijan is not a year ago. Luxembourg is Azerbaijan only a few months ago. And you don't want to get to the stage where we're reverting to more, how would I describe, perfunctory tactics about getting balls into the box when we're failing to score against Lithuania on Tuesday.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is what Ireland have to prove. I mean, this is what they've struggled at for years and years, is breaking down teams that, you know, they're supposed to be superior to. And they've struggled under the current manager as well, you know. I mean, okay, the game that should give us hope is the Qatar game at home, although the Qatar definitely, I mean, that was a friendly for Qatar as well, and they definitely did approach it with a kind of a no tackling policy, which certainly suited Ireland. And Ireland played okay, well, actually didn't play that well away to Luxembourg, and then just got the break with the first goal and closed it out very easily there. So they do have to prove that. And I mean, it's not that long ago, that 1-1 draw at home to Azerbaijan, and even things looked a little bit rocky there. You know, I remember Kenny came out afterwards and talked about building a team for Euro 2024. That felt a bit of a gambit to kind of change the narrative back his way, with, you know, a smattering of boos at the full-time whistle after that very frustrating game at home to Azerbaijan. So he's talked about that game since, and it's just, there's like, the passing was too slow. Like Ireland were too torpid and too tired looking going into that game. So there needs to be that zip and that bit more conviction in the passing, and, you know, into these early, effectively. So I think changes will definitely help that. There will be changes to the team. I would imagine that we would see, I think we might see Will Keane start. Kenny's a fan and he's in very good form for Wigan. I think we'll probably, I don't know if that start, we'll definitely see Mark Sykes and Conor Ronan make their debuts, because, you know, he brought them in. He wants to build up depth in those two number 10 positions behind the striker, and he brought them in to see what they could do. That's why Jamie McGrath isn't in the squad, hasn't been playing at Wigan, and he said, well, look, I mean, I could bring Jamie in, but he might not play for Wigan again until the end of the season, and then you know, he's coming in not match fit, and I haven't used this window to have a look at some alternative options to build up depth. So we'll probably see them in those forward positions, and there will be a couple more changes. It won't be a whole first new 11. I think they'll want to keep the momentum rolling, but there'll be changes made.
The attacking positions is your area of expertise, Simon. So we've had Robinson score, 6 goals in his last 5 appearances in green. Will Keane, 20 goals this season. Scott Hogan has scored 10 goals in the Championship for Birmingham this season. And Conor Ronan is now at St Mirren, 7 goals in 23 appearances. It was very bleak, I felt, after Robbie, and there was a feeling there. Was it Shane Duffy scored our only goal in 2020? Now it's a little bit more bright.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love the fact that you thought it was my expertise. I don't know how you got to that conclusion, but ultimately, listen, the future's looking well at the minute. We've got players in form, we've got players scoring goals, which is great. We have to give them opportunities. If there's no opportunity, they're not going to thrive. They're not going to score goals for Ireland. So if we can create chances, if we can get opportunities into the box and create some chances, then if they're scoring goals for their club and they're in form, there'll be a threat in the box for Ireland. So Callum's obviously doing okay for West Brom. Obviously, they would like to see him score a lot more goals for them. But when he puts on the green jersey, he seems to thrive at the minute, which is great for us. But again, like we said, give Will Keane the chance, scoring loads of goals for Wigan. You never know what he's going to produce if you don't give him a chance. So the idea is that they have to keep producing to be given the chance, and at the minute they are. So give them the chance and see how they get on.
How much was confidence, I think, for you when you were scoring to build momentum to score the following week?
Absolutely, yeah, massive. It was huge. If you felt comfortable in front of goal, then all of a sudden you felt that every time you got the chance you would score or at least hit the target. And the more chances you got in the game, the sort of inevitability that one of them would drop in the net. So confidence is huge. That's not just as a forward, that's as a goalkeeper, that's as a centre half, that's as everyone. So, but ultimately, the more time you feel you're in front of goal and you're confident, the chances are that there'll be a goal at the end of it somewhere along the line.
Stephen Kenny's press conference, anything out of that we can take?
Johnny, I think it's kind of worth, again, just touching on John Egan. So it's a year ago today, I'm sure everyone has it in their calendars. It's a year ago today since the Luxembourg game. The disaster at home when it looked like everything had gone wrong. And I was thinking this morning, like, obviously what's changed, loads changed, but John Egan wasn't in the team that night, and I kind of think if John Egan was playing that game against Luxembourg, it wouldn't have gone as badly as it did, because in that game Luxembourg pressed Ireland in such a way that Kieran Clark was the left-sided centre-back of the back three, and Luxembourg pressed in such a way it was just like, let him have the ball and let's see if he can beat our press. And he couldn't. He's just not that good on the ball. Gave away the ball, I think it was 11 times, hooked on an hour, and we haven't seen him since. Whereas if John Egan was in that position, he's very comfortable breaking presses. He's very comfortable on the ball. He's good passing in short range and long range. Like, he can ping a cross fielder if he wants to. And he's also very comfortable driving out from the back with the ball. And we saw that, and Kenny praised that element of his game in that press conference yesterday. And we talked about the momentum swing in the first half. And Kenny put it down to John Egan pushing up past the halfway line to go defend on the front foot and win a challenge back. And then that led to Ireland's first shot. And then the crowd got up, and then Ireland were level, a minute later, because the Belgian centre-backs aren't that great and they couldn't defend the penalty area. So I think, it's a minor thing really, but if you do look back a year ago, I think if Egan had been in the team that night, it wouldn't have gone as badly. And I think that he's one of the more, he's an integral player for Kenny. If Egan was to miss out big games, his absence will be very keenly felt.
Is it Egan, Cullen and Robinson?
As in the most important? Yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe Matt Doherty as well. I think he's very important for Ireland because he can come in field and he can create that way, and he's a very good outlet. I actually think Ogbenny would be a huge miss because of his pace. Maybe if Adam Ida is fit, he's got pace as well, but not the same level of pace as Ogbenny. So I think they're the most important players. And I know Ireland have huge depth at centre back, but I think if Egan was missing, his absence would be keenly felt. And Kenny took the job, and he was always kind of baffled that how did this guy have to wait? I think it was 4 years after he left under 21 for a senior debut. It was just like he was ready to play right after 21s. He was ready to play when he was at Brentford. And Martin O'Neill had him at Sunderland. So it's kind of, I don't know, I see it as a bit unforgivable that O'Neill didn't cap him before he did. I think he did eventually in a friendly against Iceland, I think. But it was a friendly toward the end of O'Neill's reign. So yeah, I think Egan is emerged. He's a real leader, and he's very important to how that team plays.
3-9 to 10 points is what Waterford lead Wexford by at half-time in the hurling semi-final. The second one, Cork await the winners in the decider, and we have Dublin and Kildare relegated from Division 1 of the Football League today, and we have Galway and Roscommon promoted, and we have a final in Division 1 between Kerry and Mayo after Mayo beat Kildare. 53106. For years, rugby fans were sneered at for winning friendlies against South Africa, New Zealand, etc. Now the soccer team beats a second-string team in a friendly, and it means something.
I didn't even beat them. It's 2-2.
Yeah. There you go, Texter. Lads, was at a match last night. Great atmosphere. I was with my son, his first match, and is now hooked. Players looked like they had a purpose, and all players looked like they were enjoying the system, kept at Belgium and never gave up. Are you even sensing it from over there across the water, Simon, that there is a real connection, a real feeling of joined up thinking between the players and the supporters? Because the supporters, I think, might have been frustrated with the style of play for quite a long time, and now they feel that even if we're going to go down, we're going to go down giving it a go.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I've seen and sort of spoken to a lot of lads who some are still in the team now, that actually like the desire to join up, you know, and be a part of what Stephen Kenny's building is the big thing. Sometimes you used to just join up and be, well, we don't really know what we're going to get and what way we're going to play and that sort of thing. So now there's a big belief in what's happening. So the lads are, you know, desperate when they leave their clubs after or before the international break to join up with the lads. They feel there's a real sense of achievement that's going to be happening, and they realise that, you know, they're on the cusp of something that, you know, going to go on to the 2024 and hopefully we can qualify, and that's something that's being built up from now or from the last sort of 7 games where we're unbeaten all the way through to that campaign, and hopefully we can qualify.
Did you feel when you turned up sometimes you didn't know your role, Simon, when you came to Dublin?
I did. Sometimes I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know whether I was going to play. Didn't know whether I was going to play a second, whether I was going to start, and that was sort of deemed just because of, you know, who was in front of me at the time. But ultimately, I enjoyed every time I joined up. But I would never have thought that there was ever anybody in the camp who didn't want to turn up. But it was just what we were going to be walking into. That was the sort of thing that some people didn't really understand sometimes.
That is interesting, because I think that Stephen Kenny would have said, well, we've COVID and we couldn't meet up, and I know Videogate happened and that's a long time ago now, but maybe that camp last summer was important. The camp when we beat Andorra and was drew against Hungary in a friendly. And I know there's been personnel changes and John Eustace has come in for Anthony Barry, but it feels like you know, you kind of get the sense there's snooker and there's golf and there's ping pong and there's whatever, that there isn't a tension that you would feel that would sometimes be there in an international camp that isn't flourishing.
Yeah, Quinlan Kelleher, reigning table tennis champion apparently among that squad. I think he won the tournament in Spain.
This is why we have you and Gavin to give
us. This is the important stuff that I, my important reportage. This is what I pick up. Yeah, I mean, a few of the players have talked about that camp in Spain. It was the first time they got away to work on things for a good stretch of time, because even from a tactical approach or system approach, they had 3 game windows in 6-7 days. It's crazy. Like, you're literally you're trying to squeeze in a bit of tactics work, but it's very hard to build that from scratch with almost no time to do it.
OTB AM
with Gillette. Get into your flow with the new Gillette Labs razor